I won't talk about it in the live stream. Oh, well, we already started.
Yes, hello. Shalom, Brukuba. Welcome.
What's up,
So,
y'all?
hey. No, we're not going to talk about it.
No. I mean, we can.
We were just saying that Muhammad got destroyed.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah. Hijab, not the fake prophet.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, Rasulullah was also annihilated on several occasions, but
Absolutely true. Yes, in the zit sense and in many other senses.
In the zit sense, in his slave girl's bed sense, many senses.
Okay, so we're gonna be going through a couple different things. An argument from rationality that destroys Islam that Chase has been cooking up for a bit. And then we're going to be going through the Testament of Solomon and how the Quran obviously steals from that, which I think Chase is also going to do. And then I'm going to give an in-depth explanation of the dual Qarnayn thing. We'll probably end with that because I don't know how long I'm going to take, and we might just let Chase go to sleep.
That's so kind.
I know.
The problem is I'm probably just going to stay up and play video games.
Well, then I'll just force you to sit there.
That's fine. I'll do that.
You gotta sit there.
I don't mind. So I don't have a slide deck for the rationality argument for Islam. I do have a slide deck for the rationality argument. The problem is that the whole first half of the argument is just going through Islamic sources about the rationality or Islamic determinism, but all I have to do is pull up Quran.com/diggity and so I would like to start. Am I good? Are we good? Do you have anything you guys want to say? Okay, cool. Before we get into it, I'd like to ask each one of you a question.
Okay.
Both Chris and Andrew, I need you to help me out. Does Islam teach determinism?
I would say so, yes.
Absolutely. It is one of the articles of the faith. You must believe it or you're going to...
Do Muslims admit that their religion teaches determinism?
No.
I
mean, some might. Yeah, some might, but the average Muslim is not acknowledging, because they will argue that they believe in free will.
Right. That's more what I was asking.
They argue for compatibilism.
The classical scholars almost exclusively believe in determinism. I mean, so like Chris said, I don't even think that they would argue for compatibilism. I think they genuinely misunderstand what the Quran says. So like, I think that like 9 times out of 10, when I hear a Muslim talk about free will in Islam, what they'll say is that, you have free will, but just God just knows what you're going to do, right? And that's not different really from what, most Christians would believe as well, right? That God knows the future, but does not necessarily determine the future. Which that's its own topic, but that's don't smile, Chris. But that's its own thing. But that's not what Islam teaches, is it? Islam does not teach that Allah just knows the future. Unequivocally, Islam teaches that Allah determines things. Now, whether or not you believe that it's compatibilistic or not, you have to believe in some form of determinism in Islam, because I just like to get this right off the bat. I don't think that compatibilism and hard determinism are really any different, personally.
I agree.
I think that compatibilism is the same, and it's semantics. So what do you, yeah, exactly. Like, what do you mean you still have a choice? Like, I don't, because even like in my opinion, even Aquinas would say that we still have secondary causation, even though he may contradict himself in some other spots talking about it because of the influence from Augustine and all that. But I think that Muslims genuinely do not understand that Allah determines everything. And their scholars say the same thing. So let me pull up Quran.com and I will share my screen.
The forbidden.
Yeah. I will be reading from Sahih International.
Paste.
Which is not.
Ooh, that's small text.
Hang on now.
Hold on now.
How's that?
Better? Can you do them a bit bigger?
Yep, I got you. Oh,
there you go. That's good.
Yep, got it.
You can also just close the side panel if you want.
Well, I'll be I guess it.
Oh, okay. No, you go.
I mean, I will be jumping a little bit. Because I have like 8 or 9 different verses I'd like to read, but we're not going to spend a ton of time. Unless you guys obviously have things to say if you want to. I took a slight nap, so I'm not too bad right now.
Good.
Yeah, I feel it. Hey, man. So yes, unequivocally, I think all 3 of us would agree. Islam teaches qadr, which is the doctrine of fate, which is determinism. So let's read in Quran, Surah number 4, and verse number 142. Allah says, "Indeed, the hypocrites deceive Allah, but He is deceiving them. And when they stand for prayer, they stand lazily, showing the people and not remembering Allah except a little, wavering between them, neither to these nor to those, and whoever Allah sends astray, never will you find for him a way." Now, you can say, well, Chase, Andrew, Chris, this is just saying that there are some people that Allah leads astray and you will never find for those people a way. I would say, absolutely, I agree with you. There are only a portion of the population does Allah lead astray. Hey, completely agree. Let's go.
The vast majority.
The vast majority.
It was like the first time I calculated, I think it was like 93% of all humanity, at least.
The vast majority.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. I wanted to show you. I have all the verses and stuff in my notes and quoted and everything, but I want to make sure that people can see it. 6:25. Hey, shut up. 25. All right. Let's read. It says, so for context, I forget where it really starts. Mention O Muhammad, which I don't even know why they added that, but whatever. The day we will gather them all together, then we will say to those who associated others with Allah, so the shirkers, if you will, where are your partners that you used to claim? Which is kind of a cold statement by Allah if he was real. But I'm just saying, hey, gotta recognize it. It's like when the Lord Jesus said that these scribes and Pharisees, Moses is going to show up on the day of judgment to anyways. But it says, and among them are those who listen to you, i.e. Muhammad, but we have placed over their hearts coverings lest they understand it, and in their ears deafness, and if they should see every sign, they will not believe in it. Even when they come to you arguing with you, those who disbelieve say, this is not but legends of the former people. So again, we have Allah here, not just leading people astray, right? People that, you may never meet. He's leading people astray who are listening to Muhammad intentionally. He's actively leading them away from what Muhammad has to say, because they make fun of him, which I think is pretty funny. This is kind of the kicker to me. Surah Ibrahim, verse 4. Ibrahim. Okay. 14:4. And we did not send any messenger except in the language of his people to state clearly for them, and Allah sends astray whom he wills and guides whom he wills, and he is the exalted in might, the wise. Now, you say, Chase, there are tons of verses that say Allah sends astray who he wills and guides who he wills. This is true. But this one is particularly important to me because of what Ibn Kathir has to say about this verse. We will get into that in a little bit. But just blanket statement. I think it's in the Quran. Man, I had Usama tell me one time and I forgot. But in the Arabic, though he sends astray whom he wills and guides whom he wills. It's in the Quran, like I would say it's like 10 to 15 times.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, about 10 to 15 times. And so here, not only do we have Allah sending people astray, not only do we have Allah sending people astray who are actively listening to Rasul, but we have Allah guiding whom he wills. And I feel like this is a pretty unequivocal statement. Surah 7. Here we go. Man, I like putting my surahs in order, and I put 7 out of order with 14. 7, 179.
You would hate my notes, dude.
179. Mashallah. All right. Surah 7, 179 says, and we have certainly created for hell many of the jinn and mankind. They have heart, understand. They have eyes with which they do not see, and they have ears with which they do not hear. Those are like livestock. Rather, they are more astray. It is they who are heedless. So we've all heard the famous Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures verse, right? Over and over and over again, we hear this, and we hear Bucky screaming at Jibril in the background. But this is
the verse.
He did.
Saw the vision.
This is proclaim it. But this here is even better because we are livestock. Now, I don't know if you, Christopher or Andrew, I don't know if you guys have seen the Godzilla movies. Are you fans of like the Godzilla movies?
The old ones are the new ones. I've seen all of the new ones, and I've seen a number of the older ones.
So the new ones, like, have you seen Godzilla Final Wars, the one with all the monsters on it? He goes and he like does a world tour and just starts kicking monster butt.
Early 2000s?
Yes, 2004.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that,
I played the GameCube game on it too. It was based.
All of the, it makes me upset that the newest and best Godzilla game is on the PlayStation and they don't even make it anymore. Anyways, I digress. I also had a very similar game on Xbox. I don't know if it was the same one or not, but regardless, it was fantastic.
It's really good.
Very good.
I recommend it.
Highly. Graphics. Because I went back on YouTube the other day. I was like, I wonder if that game, like if people knew about that game. And I went back on YouTube and I was like, oh, they knew about it. And I was like, man, this looks really bad. But it was so much fun.
I like how he called it the Korong.
Yeah.
The what?
Oh, it's been a thing. Also, inside of the Islamic Dilemma Discord, I accidentally misspelled it one time, and I did Quuan, so just Kuan. Kind of sound like it's Chinese, the Quan. So there's a number of people there that just keep calling it the Quan. Instead of
that's
how dare I, Surah out of order is good.
I know.
Songs of Relief is encouraging Bucky to continue. How dare you?
Yes.
But okay, so in said Godzilla movie, this alien race comes down and starts sending these monsters everywhere across the planet to try and destroy humanity, or to destroy civilization, to essentially enslave humanity, to become livestock for them, because they literally have to like eat humans in order to continue to live. The Zillion race. Okay.
Right.
When I read this verse, that is precisely what I think of. Those are like livestock. All I can see is this Asian dude telling Ron Swanson lookalike on his alien vessel that he's livestock. And if you know the movie, you know the movie, and you have insane ball knowledge about what I'm talking about. But it's exactly what I see. But it's so degrading. Like, I'm livestock. I'm just to be raised and slaughtered. And slaughtered, right?
Mhm.
Or milked. I'd rather not be milked. But
which, I mean, if you
I-
read the poets of Islam about white women, that's basically how they talk about them.
Yeah, mashallah. And it's not just that we're like livestock insofar as we're stupid, insofar as we're, just to be raised and slaughtered. We're actually more astray
Mhm.
than animals. Now, what
Mhm.
that means, I have no idea. How could you be more astray than an animal when an animal isn't astray? Who knows what Allah mean? Yeah, I mean, I keep forgetting the Arabic phrase for Allah knows best, but Allah knows best. And anyways, I like this first part here. This is very important. And we have certainly created for hell many of the jinn and mankind. Now, there was a time when I believed that the jinn in Islam had free will. Because of certain things in the Quran and because of certain Islamic interpreters. Because the jinn aren't demons necessarily. They're not all demons. Some of them worship Allah. But apparently the jinn also don't have free will, which is great. That's fine. I don't mind. But it says that we were created for hell.
Mhm.
In the Bible, Andrew, if you wouldn't mind
My bad.
reminding me.
Oh, I thought you heard me mess with my mic. I realized that
No.
I
You're
messed
all
with
good.
it while I was live. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, Andrew, if you wouldn't mind me. In the Bible, why was hell created?
Hell, Jesus explains that hell was a punishment for the angels.
Oh, okay. So you mean to tell me that hell wasn't created first, and then because Allah wanted to fill it with some people, he decided to create sinners and jinn?
I mean, it depends on the perspective. There might be some staunch Calvinists who would say that, but yeah,
I don't even think that
no.
a Calvinist would necessarily say that. I mean, I said hell was.
I'm being cheeky.
I know
I'll
you're
stop.
being
Yeah,
facetious,
yeah.
but yeah, I feel what you're saying. But in the Christian narrative, right, hell was created as a byproduct of the fact that sin had entered into creation, right? Sin had entered into the angelic realm. Hell was created for that. And then because that is the eternal place of punishment for sin, mankind fell into sin. And so mankind also has to pay for sin. And that's what happens. So it's not, we don't have this, right? In Islam, apparently hell was created first, and then you just got Allah creating people ready for him to head on down to, Lake of Fire Avenue. So, and then the second part is also very interesting because of what we read earlier in Surah Ibrahim. Okay. It says they have hearts with which they do not understand, and they have eyes with which they do not see, and they have ears with which they do not hear. Chris, why do they have those appendages?
To better burn with.
Well, they have them not okay, sorry. I should rephrase my question. Why are there appendages? Why do they have eyes with which they do not see? And why do they have ears with which they do not hear?
So Allah could force them to go to hell?
Well, because Allah made them have those.
Yeah.
It's not just because they have eyes and they're refusing to see, like we see in the Bible
Mhm.
with the Pharisees. right? It's not that they have
Isaiah.
ears with which they do not hear,
Right.
because they chose not to hear what the words of the Lord Jesus were, or what the words of Isaiah and Jeremiah, all these prophets were. No. They have those ears with which they do not hear, because just like in Surah Ibrahim, we read that Allah has placed a covering over them so that they can't. Interesting. Let's move on. Surah 81. Surah 81. At-takwir. Takwir.
Sounds like a slur.
Yeah. Wait, what? Hang on. I think I have the wrong. Oh, man, is it? I guess I did that while I was at work. My work computer, for whatever reason, the number 8 key at the top of the keyboard sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. And it's like maybe a year old. So I'm confused as to why it's happening. Anyways. 28. Could have just done that over here. Anyways. Surah 81 verse 28 says, "For whoever wills among you to take a right course, and you do not will except that Allah wills, Lord of the worlds." So we see that there are people who will to take a right course. See, Chase, mashallah. This is the free will in Islam. But you do not will except that Allah wills.
True.
So if Allah did not will that you would take a right course, then
You don't go take a right
you're out of
course.
luck, man. You don't
Yeah.
get that right course, unfortunately. Allah was not too thrilled with your, existence, unfortunately, and he just decided that you would not have a rest of your life. So
Just got smited. Get good.
man, my surahs are so out of order. Surah 76. Oh my gosh.
Allah really let you know, hey, get good, kid.
Get good.
Get
76:29. Here we have 76:29 through 31. Al-Insan. That's what Muhammad was. Indeed, this is a reminder. So he who wills may take to his Lord away. And you do not will except that Allah wills. Indeed, Allah and wise. This is also important for our tafsir, I believe.
Shalom, Talmud man.
He.
Shalom.
Oh, dude, you have
Goodbye.
the. Oh, nice. Anyways,
wait, can we pause 1 second? Can I ask one question to Chris, because Talmud man, that just brought to mind, I have a question from something I just read in Essential Zohar. I need to know if this is in the Talmud. Is the concept that Jacob is a reincarnation of Adam, is that from the Talmud? Off from your knowledge.
I don't think so. So there's a couple things with him and reincarnation, him appearing out of body. So like he appears in the window to stop Joseph from gooning. His bones and everything else is taken with him out of Egypt. Yeah.
Okay. But not Adam being reincarnated as Joseph or as Jacob.
No.
Okay.
No, there's like stuff with his body, like having magical things about it, but not of Adam, I don't think.
That might be a unique claim to the Zohar. Wow, look at that.
There's a bunch of them, actually.
One finally came through in this reading that I was like, as I was reading that, I was thinking, like, I can't name another religion that this is from. This might be original.
So Jacob is the reincarnation of Adam?
Yes, that is the claim. I read that and I was genuinely shocked. I was like, it says what?
No, that's just Zohar. Yeah.
And
Google says Zohar.
Sorry, we'll give it back to being refocused. I needed to ask that question, and it just came to mind. I'll talk more about this later. We're not doing important things.
Yeah. No, just yeah, Andrew, feel free to interrupt me whenever you want to. That's not a problem.
About any topic, regardless of what you're talking
Any
about.
topic whatsoever. Yeah, favorite
Yeah.
Pokemon and stuff. Please just insert it wherever
Yeah.
you would like.
Well, we
course.
all watched the Muhammad Hijab and God Logic stream. I learned from Muhammad Hijab. He has 6 degrees, Chase, and I got my education from him, and I can just interrupt anytime, and I can dodge.
Your ball knowledge education from Momo.
Man. You know, I never ever intend to debate Muhammad Hijab for any reason whatsoever, just because I can't stand the person. I mean, but I would love to be like, you're an uneducated boy. I'm like, my guy, I think I have more education than you do. Like, what are you on about? Idiot.
I mean, he's just, he's not, I don't know. Anyways, verse 31, he admits whom he wills into his mercy, but the wrongdoers, he has prepared for them a painful punishment. So, in Christianity, right, we have this idea that, the idea that, the Lord has mercy on whom he wills, and he withholds mercy on whom he wills. But our position would be that, well, the Lord can have mercy on anyone who comes to Jesus, though, right? Like, that could be his will, right? To have, it's not as an arbitrary decision necessarily. It's his will to have mercy on those who come to faith in Christ. But you don't have that in Islam, right? It says he admits whom he wills into his mercy. And we saw earlier that you do not go onto the rightly guided path unless Allah wills that you do that. So we have that you're not allowed on the path of the rightly guided unless Allah wills you to be. And you are not admitted into his mercy unless he wills for you to be. Now, let's continue. Surah 28. Insanely out of order. Surah 28. Al-Qasas 68. It says, and your Lord creates what he wills and chooses. This is important. Not for them was the choice. Exalted is Allah and high above what they associate with him. So, you would think, hey, this part means that Allah created them and they didn't have a choice in the matter of whether or not they were created, which is regardless. But you could say that, well, they didn't have a choice as to whether or not they were created. But I'm going to show you Ibn Kathir did not take that stance. Surah 35:8. But we're not there yet. We're going to get to the tafsir in a little while. Surah 35 and verse 8 says, then is one to whom the evil of his deed has been made attractive, so he considers it good. For indeed, Allah sends astray whom he wills and guides whom he wills, so do not let yourself perish over them in regret. Indeed, Allah is knowing of what they do. So, essentially here we have Allah consoling the believers, the Muslims, because they're like, man, I wish I could convince X family member. I wish I could convince, my cousin, my friend, Habib.
Really,
I could convince Habib, right? Well, unfortunately, I mean, it's all good, buddy. Allah sends astray some people, but he guides people too. So don't let yourself perish over them in regret. Yeah. It's it's up to God. And there's one thing. Okay, I would like to get this out of the boat now as well. I've heard people say this often. Whenever people will say like, man, I tried to work on X family member or something like that. I tried to be kind to this person, but that's on God. It's like that's on them, bro. I mean, the Lord is right there waiting for anybody. It's on you to not be a jerk. It's on you to not to accept, the gospel, right? So I don't like I would also like to encourage Christians maybe just to refrain from saying that, you know, a person's behavior is up to God, right? Like that's not true. That person's behavior is on them. So like I don't know. I heard that the other day at work and I was like, what why would their attitude be up to God? What? Anyways, that's essentially what he's teaching here though. That, yeah, well, whatever they do. That's Allah willed it. All right, let's jump to the Sunnah. Amen. Anyways, oh, sorry, I gotta share this tab.
That was beautiful, Tajbeed Habibi.
No. Mashallah.
You have strengthened my Imam.
Oh, okay. I thought you said, never mind. I thought you said you have strengthened my Imam. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But you said Iman, as in your faith,
Yeah.
not
Right.
Imam.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
was
same
like,
thing. Imam is my faith because I don't read.
Hang on. Let me share this tab now. I hate the fact that Sunnah.com makes it difficult to search for things, but whenever I just search it in Google, it knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Well,
I don't understand. Anyways, here we go. Right. Yeah.
Super based. Also made in Israel. Pretty based. Anyway.
Is that like an Artsa box thing?
No. It's like 80 years old.
Oh, real?
Yeah.
Back in the time of Jesus. Anyways. Right, he lived a long time ago, right? Anyways, we have here for you a very well-known, but fairly well-known Sunnah hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Would you mind pulling that up for us?
Oh, yes, sir.
Appreciate it. All right, here we have Aisha, the mother of the believer, said that Allah's messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was called to lead the funeral prayer of a child of the Ansar. I said, speaking of Aisha, Allah's messenger, there is happiness for this child who is a bird from the birds of paradise, for it committed no sin, nor has he reached the age when one can commit sin. Pause here for me, please. Could you imagine being a bird in paradise and just witnessing all of the wild stuff that's going on up there? You're just kind of flapping, you're just like flying around and you're just like, oh my gosh. You're just looking down, you're like, wow. Oh, thank you, Chris. Unfreeze. Yeah. It's good. I think I accidentally froze your ears too, but what I said wasn't important.
No, I heard. It was good.
Okay, good. Yeah. No, but like
But for real though, who would want to be a bird?
It just flying around watching all the hedonistic
Maybe they participate. You never know. A lot of birds do, in fact, have ding-dongs.
No.
Ducks have a corkscrew one that can detach and grow in different lengths, depending on the number of males in the area. So if there's a bunch of males around them, they have longer and longer ones. They actually have lengths that can be 2 to 3 times their body length. So it's quite impressive. Like they have a longer size than they do wingspan a lot of the time, especially if there's a bunch of males. And interestingly, female ducks have a counter corkscrew pouch in which the corkscrew goes into that has its own trap mazes because ducks primarily have violent procreation that is not consensual. So there's female ducks who have adapted to have false parts of their bodies so that the males cannot actually inseminate them.
Wow.
Yeah, and ducks have been
That's pretty
known to do
crazy.
violent necrophilia upon other males. So they do homosexual, gay, dead rape.
Yeah, this stream's definitely getting taken down. That's great.
This is the will of Allah.
YouTube sifting through like, he said what? I didn't know those words all went together.
Dude, ducks are awful, man. It's actually one of the best arguments against atheism. It's just ducks' existence. Because they're so evil and vile. Same with bears. That's for different reasons.
Yeah. Wow. That reminded. No, I'm not. That's not a. Yeah. Nope. Not gonna say that. So,
but dude, like birds of
continuing on.
paradise. There you go. Yeah.
I feel like that's not a bird that I would like to see in paradise. I would not
No.
like to see.
Right.
I would not like to see the Chuck Norris duck.
But
Anyway.
mallards are green, and it's supposed to be green bird of paradise. And
I like mallards. You've ruined mallards for me now. Well,
they're not good.
They taste good. Anyways,
They're cute.
Quack.
Anyway.
He, being the prophet, said, Aisha, peradventure it may be otherwise. Because God created for paradise those who are fit for it while they were yet in their father's loins, and created for hell those who are to go to hell. He created them for hell while they were yet in their father's loins. So, I think this just goes to confirm our earlier suspicion that these people not only are misguided to hell, but were born for hell. That was their stated purpose initially. This would be like a James White view of election, right? That, I don't know, if God chose them to go to heaven, they go to heaven, and if God chose them to go to hell, then they go to hell. So I think that this is an unequivocal statement that there are people who are legitimately initially created to go to hell and to go to heaven.
I don't know if you have this in your Hadith collection, but there's a Hadith talking about or the sperm drop idea, where before Oh, okay.
We'll get there.
Okay,
I believe
mashallah.
so. Yes. Oh, wait, no, not the
It's also from the Talmud.
semen. Are you talking about when 40 and 2 nights pass after the semen gets into the womb? Or
Yeah, and their book is written in, and within their book has their professions, their name, and yeah, that's Talmudic. Fun fact.
Habibi. Yeah. First of all, I think that conversation that we had with that guy on our stream last
night.
Was that last night? Yeah, that was last night.
Yeah,
on the Talmud was probably the best conversation that like a Muslim could put forward in terms of like what, like, well, couldn't they have just received revelation? I think he offered probably the most one of the most consistent answers to the problem of the Talmudic dilemma, like, because clearly he's copying from them. But anyways, we have Sahih Muslim 2650. What? I can't with this.
Well, Miskat is obviously more impressive than Bukhari here.
Muslim apply.
Muslim.
Yes. We shall. This one, please.
The Book of Destiny.
Oh yeah, this book is full of predetermined language. Well, language is predetermined anyways. But anyways, um, we don't have to read the entire thing, but we will because I don't know why I said that. It says Abu Abu al Aswad reported that Imran bin Hussein asked him, "What is your view? What the people do today in the world and strive for? Is it something decreed for them or preordained for them, or will their fate in the hereafter be determined by the fact that their prophets brought them teaching which they did not act upon?" So this is free will, right? Prophets brought them stuff that they didn't want, or is it determined for them? I said, of course, it is something which is predetermined for them and preordained for them. He further said, then would it not be an injustice to punish them? I felt greatly disturbed because of that and said everything is created by, it's kind of this whole conversation, this kind of reminds me of like when like Patrick is forced to think too hard in SpongeBob and he just starts hurting. It just starts hurting him. And so, Imam Hussein here, or Aswad said, it burns me. I was greatly disturbed at the logical argument that I was presented by another Muslim. I think, then would it not be an injustice to punish them? Yes, is the answer. I felt greatly disturbed because of that and said everything is created by Allah and lies in his power. He would not be questioned as to what he does, but they would be questioned. Thereupon he said to me, may Allah have mercy upon you. I did not mean to ask you, but for testing your intelligence. This is not a test of his intelligence. Not even an intelligent determinist can justify why God judges people whom he determines to act according to how he did. Okay. You could be the smartest person on earth, and if God determines you to sin and then punishes you for that sin, that's unjust.
Indeed.
It's not like
No.
it has nothing to do with whether or not I did not mean to disturb you, Habib. Like it's just a disturbing concept in general. Like, thank you, rabbis and Gnostic heretics, for introducing this to the Christian world, but it's just disturbing. No, no. And I'm sorry, I don't want to get into the church about this, but it bothers me how pervasive this idea of determinism is. All right, continuing. 2 men of the tribe of Muzayna came to Allah's messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Allah's messenger, what is your opinion that the people do in the world and strive for? Is something decreed for them, something preordained for them, and will their fate in the hereafter be determined by the fact that their prophets brought them teachings which they did not act upon? And thus they became, why is there a period and then an and? Thus they became deserving of punishment. Thereupon he said, of course, it happens as it is decreed by destiny and preordained for them, and this view is confirmed by the verse of the Kitab of Allah, the exalted and glorious. Consider the soul and him who made it perfect, then breathe into it its sin and its piety. So this is all determined. Now, I think it's probably funny because we see Imran ask our friend here, Aswad. He asked him, hey man, why is it this way? How can Allah punish someone for something he made them do? But forgot the chance to ask Rasulullah this question. Because I feel like there's a part of me that's like, they probably did ask him that question, but he was just too embarrassed that they just didn't record what his answer was because it was probably really stupid. Because it's like, it's like clearly there's some sort of chiastic structure going on here with Imran and these people from Muzena. So clearly it's like they asked the same questions, but but they just conveniently left out what Rasulullah decided to say about this problem. Anyways, we'll continue on. So this is again an unequivocal statement. Breathed into it its sin and its piety.
Yep.
Mashallah. All right. Let's move on. What is it? 2645A 26458. Boom.
Same in the Book of Destiny still.
Yes, we are still in the Book of Destiny. And Sunnah.com could stop being a jerk whenever it wants. Sahih Muslim. Apply. No, I didn't mean to ask for that. This is the problem with you.
So I just use Google.
Well, yeah, I could, but I don't want there to be Book of Destiny. Is it?
That's the same one.
I've heard. Well, I don't know if it's the same.
No,
one.
no, it's not.
I visited. No.
You wanted A?
Oh my
It was at
goodness.
the top.
It was.
It was at the top.
Maybe
yeah.
I only quoted a part of it. Evil one is he is evil in the womb. Oh. Hey, it's good too. I have heard Allah's messenger as saying, here it is. This is the part that I really wanted to get to. I guess we can start up here. I didn't really read the whole thing because that's not really the part I was looking for. But it says Abdullah bin Masud reported evil. He's not even saying that Rasulullah said this. Evil one is he who is evil in the womb of his mother, and the good one is he who takes a lesson from the fate of others. Whatever that means. I thought it's, anyways. Amongst the companions, Hudhaifa, how can a person be an evil one? Here we go. This might be interesting. Usaid, how can a person be an evil one without committing an evil deed? Thereupon the person said to him, you are surprised at this, whereas I have heard Allah's messenger saying, may peace be upon him, as saying, when 42 nights pass after the semen gets into the womb, Allah sends the angel and gives him shape. Then he creates his sense of hearing, sense of sight, his skin, his flesh, his bones, and then says, my Lord, would he be male or female? And your Lord decides as he desires, and the angel then puts down that also, and then says, my Lord, what about his age? And your Lord decides as he likes it, and the angel puts it down. Then he says, my Lord, what about his livelihood? And then the Lord decides as he likes, and the angel writes it down. Then the angel gets out with his scroll of destiny in his hand, and nothing is added to it, and nothing is subtracted from it. So here we have the idea that whatever is written, it's not just like Groundhog Day, where the only thing that's certain is he's going to wake up and it's going to be the same day, right? It's not as though the only thing that's determined is your age of death and your height and what you're going to do. Nothing is added or subtracted from it. You could not choose to be anything other than the occupation with which you have. You cannot choose to take the chemotherapy and not die at the time that Allah has, destined for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't, there's no adding or subtracting from anything that is written in this book of your fate. Now this kind of is an interesting way to put things, because generally whenever you talk to a determinist, they would say that things were determined like a long time ago. Right. But this seems to suggest that Allah is just kind of making crap up as he goes.
He does. It's actually from the Talmud. So this is almost a direct quote from the Talmud, and they have the same belief system.
And so, but to me, it's like, okay, so was everything determined like before, or does he just like make it up, or? And I guess
whenever the semen's planted.
well, you could say, well, he determines it beforehand, but he only tells the angel to write it in the scroll of destiny at conception and all that. That's fine. I have no problem with that. It's still ridiculous, makes no sense, and is completely logically incoherent. But I mean, hey, to each their own. I mean, enjoy Allah or enjoy Islam. I mean,
So can I read from the Talmud real quick?
please do.
Okay, this is Sota 2a, paragraph 9. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, 40 days before an embryo is formed, a divine voice issues forth and says, the daughter of so-and-so is destined to marry so-and-so, such and such a house is destined to be inhabited by so-and-so, such and such a field is destined to be farmed by so-and-so. This clearly states that these matters, including marriage, are decreed for a person before he is formed. Then you have other mentions of sperm drop and other descriptions of everything is sealed inside of their book, and they'll be written for life or written for death beforehand. And
So
also in Moyed Katan, it says, length of life, children, and sustenance do not depend on one's merit, but rather they depend upon fate written in their book.
Is that like an argued portion, or is that kind of just a consensus among most rabbis?
Ooh, I don't remember the context of Sota. I'll bring it up real quick.
Also, I was going to ask another question, which I will remember by the time that I'm done speaking the sentence, because usually that's how it goes whenever I go to ask a question, is that I forget what it is.
It's only two opinions. And that's just one of them. They actually reconcile the two in it, so that would just be accepted.
Oh, how do like Orthodox Jews defend this whole sperm drop thing?
I don't think most of them would take it literally, so they would just ignore it.
How else would you take it?
Wait, okay. Oh, so first off, you have to ask what type of Jew you're talking about. I literally walked in to hear the words Orthodox.
I'm sorry, dude. This is the first time.
Really
well,
funny.
I mean, Chris talks about them all the time. He's kind of obsessed.
I just brought up the Talmud. I literally just read the Talmud.
But this is the first time we've really interacted with Orthodox Judaism this stream.
Right.
No, what I was gonna say is, like,
Ash is the best person to ask on this. Do they believe in Does Judaism, Orthodox, like standard Orthodox Judaism, believe in predestination because it's in the Talmud, or do they, mythicize it and just be like, oh, that was just an illusion, it wasn't real, and we actually have free will?
And then on top of that, whenever the Talmud talks about the sperm drop theory of the genesis of a birth, does that get taken literally, or?
Yeah, from Nida 16.
The classic phrase would be all from heaven except for fear of heaven. So is that like it's your choice whether or not you fear God, but everything else is determined, or?
The sperm drop in the Talmud, I'll just read it real quick, is Nida 16b, paragraph 12. As Rabbi Hina bar Papa interpreted that verse in the following manner, the angel that is appointed over conception is called night. And that angel takes the drop of semen from which a person will be formed and presents it before the Holy One, blessed be he, and says, before him, Master of the universe, what will be of this drop? Will the person fashioned from it be mighty or weak? Will he be clever or stupid? Will he be wealthy or poor?
So
like compatibilism?
I'm assuming, well, that's not, because compatibilism would even deny that you have the will to choose God. Would they, so then you're not punished based on your sin, you're punished because you just didn't choose to have faith, then, I'm assuming. Because I mean, you can't really be punished for your sin if the only thing that you can really take responsibility for is whether or not you had faith. So I guess you're just punished for not having faith. I mean, which is also wrong, but because while rejecting God is a sin, that's not the only thing that you're judged for.
Actively doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is compatibilism? The choices in free will along the way are real, but everything comes into fruition in God's plan.
I think that would just
That
be
sounds like compatibilism.
closed theism.
Is God's plan, but you did say that everything is predestined, but we have the free will to choose. So you said faith is a choice, everything else is predestined, and then you said everything is predestined, but we have free will to choose along the way.
Compatibilism sounds like a word I would use for it.
We're not being. This is outside of Islam at the moment.
Well, it's not, because it's rabbinic Judaism, and that is
which
Islam,
is Islam for
right,
sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
but I guess I would really have to sit down and talk to somebody to somebody about it, because in my opinion, like, I've talked to so many determinists and compatibilists, and to me, they're all different in how they word it, but they all end up in the same place. So yeah. Timu Talmud.
Yeah, off-brand.
Anyways, we already read
Crazy.
that. Bukhari 3208 is next. 3208 filter. I don't understand. Apply, please. Here we go. There we go. Right. Beginning. 3208. A human being is. Yep. Here we go. Narrated Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Allah's apostle, the true and truly inspired, said, the matter of the creation of a human being is put together in the womb of the mother in 40 days, and then he becomes a clot of thick blood for a similar period, and then a piece of flesh for a similar period. Then Allah sends an angel who is ordered to write 4 things. He's ordered to write down deeds, his livelihood, his death, and whether he will be blessed or wretched. Then the soul is breathed into him. So a man amongst you may do good deeds, I'm assuming is in. So a man amongst you may do till there's only a cubit between him and paradise. And then what has been written for him decides his behavior, and he starts doing deeds characteristic of the people of fire. And similarly, a man amongst you may do deeds till there's only a cubit between him and the fire, and then what has been written for him decides his behavior, and he starts doing deeds characteristic of the people of paradise.
Man.
So
the ear, dude. Anyway.
This one, it feels, I don't know, like, you could argue that this is just like God decides where you go, but like, I guess your choices along the way are still kind of yours. But I mean, it seems to say that what has been written for him decides his behavior. So, and based on what we read earlier, nothing is ever subtracted or added to that book of fate. So,
you're just destined for it. Yeah.
Right. Anyways, Tafsir, Surah 14:4. Let's go to Quran.
That's a good question.
Surah.
Why are the angels?
The angels are commanded to. Yeah. Well, it's because the divine council view, angels are delegated a lot in Judaism, and it just happens to be that all that stuff is carried over. So even though Allah is a different type of entity in God than Yahweh, even from the Jewish view, he's still, again, he has such a broken theology because he's incorporating 7 religions while mostly copying from one of them. So just all over the place.
So Hussar, the destiny is not written into the flesh; it's written into the book. It's just during the time in which the flesh is being created.
So everyone has 3 books. You have your book of good deeds, your book of bad deeds, and your book of predestination.
Yeah.
The book of good deeds and bad deeds will be weighed, and if you're a Muslim, he's going to tilt the scales in favor of kindness, which also comes from the Talmud, and then that's in Rosh Hashanah 16b. And then whenever he does that, you'll be admitted into paradise. If it's written in the 3rd book that you will be admitted into paradise, otherwise you're going to go to hell. And then the first 2 books don't even matter because it's already written. But he's still going to judge your works.
Well, unfortunately, Maxter, those books have been corrupted as well. Here's the thing, right? In Christianity, we believe that there are 2 books. We have the Book of Life and the Lamb's Book of Life. 2 different books. One book records people who are alive. One of the other books records people who are saved. And that's all the books. Anyways. So, we have here Tafsir on the Quran.
Actually, the books are on your shoulders right now because those angels are currently sitting on you at all times.
Amen. Amen.
It's also from the Talmud.
That's also from the Talmud. Here we go. So it says, every prophet was sent with the language of his people. Guidance or misguidance follows the explanation. Allah is kind and compassionate with his creation, sending messengers to them from among them and speaking their language so that they are able to understand the message that the messengers were sent with. Is this true? According to what we read earlier, are they in themselves able to understand the message? No.
No.
The answer is no. In fact, they're just sock puppets that Allah has. Everybody is. We were just all sock puppets that Allah has, and only He does the understanding, and on and on and on and on and on. So we have here the quote: "Then Allah misleads whom He wills and guides whom He wills. After the proof and evidence have been established for the people, Allah misguides whom He wills from the path of guidance and guides whom He wills to the truth." Notice that this is after the proof and evidence have been established for the people.
The Huda. Which, I mean, if you don't have the Hujjah, which you can't cannot happen during the Fatra, mind you, when all this stuff has been written, but you need a warner, and you need the warner to explain the material. But us in English, we don't have a warner.
Except for Joseph Smith.
Yeah,
Rasulullah.
So we're in a Fatra for our people group.
Joseph Smith was the last prophet. He was sent to the Americas.
Dude,
why we shall be Mormon. He has the truth. And that means that the Quran's been corrupted, and Allah did not allow it to remain uncorrupted. The Book of Mormon is the true last text of the law.
Mashallah. It's like, I don't know if you guys.
Mine will be the last one.
I don't know if you guys ever watch JonTron, but he's got a video on this Italian cult leader. It's pretty funny. Anyways. So that the Italians got one too. Anyways,
based. Yeah.
So after the proof and evidence have been established, so
I need one.
So let's say, you know, the proof, the evidence has been established, and then Allah's like, yeah, I don't like you. No, you can go ahead. After they've heard, which contradicts what we just read. Right? That everything was already determined. So is everything already determined? Or does Allah only divide the sheep and the goats when you hear the evidence? But we'll get to that. Evidence is completely irrelevant under determinism. This is the part that I would like to get to. And He is the Almighty. Whatever He wills occurs, and whatever He does not will never occur.
So Allah willed the death of Khomeini.
This
and the assassination of Muhammad.
Allah willed that I would cough.
Allah willed for Muhammad to be poisoned and suffer for years. And then die while having his aorta severed.
It's pretty base of a law.
Yeah, wasn't
Yeah.
enough. Whatever he wills occurs, and whatever he does not will never occur. I mean, I don't know how much more unequivocal I can get, man. Like, this is Ibn Kathir. Like, a lot of y'all Muslims don't know. A lot of y'all Muslims don't know Ibn Taymiyyah. A lot of y'all Muslims don't know Al Tabari. A lot of y'all don't know Ibn Abbas, but y'all know Kathir.
Ironically, yeah. He's like
Even though
lesser than
the
all
ones
those
that I'm
dudes.
yeah, the ones
absolutely,
that I just
absolutely.
mentioned are
Timea
way
and Ibn
below.
Abbas and like, oh yeah, significantly above him.
Al-Tabari is the oldest and, to me, most reliable tafsir, commentator in the whole Quran. And Abbas, to me, it goes Tabari, and then Abbas, and then like Qurtubi,
Whoa,
Taymiyyah.
wait.
What?
So I
When
think
the Messiah comes, Satan's job won't be needed
There's-
anymore to deceive
there's a
people.
Talmudic passage on this. Yeah.
What?
He's talking about Rabbi Yoron Rubian. And okay, in the Talmud, there is the evil inclination, which is your sin nature, the angel of death, and Shaitan. And the angel of death used to be a pious angel that served God, and he might still be in heaven. And then there's a statement that those three are one being. So Satan is the angel of death, and Satan is the sin inclination, the evil inclination within us. So I think he might just be exegeting that the angel of death is just going to become a holy angel because whenever the Messiah here, death won't happen, and then he's just going to go back to his old ways.
Yeah, but like logically
That's
speaking,
evil.
well, yeah, logically speaking, that means that the angel of death was doing a job for God, and that once that job had been resolved, he's going to get honor. Right? If you're going to call him a most holy angel, that means he's going to get some form of honor or reward for doing what he was supposed to do. That is actually evil.
That is evil. That's messed up.
Yeah.
Hey, Fazy.
So that's
How you doing?
crazy. That was like something
Water.
that I read in the Zohar, Essential Zohar, because I haven't actually read the actual Zohar, but the oh dang it, I should go grab the book. But it was like when it was talking about how Jacob, it's like they were saying that the blessing from Isaac had the power to reverse the action of the garden. And I don't understand how that's even possible or why they would even make that kind of claim, because there's definitely no shot. Fazy has returned.
He has. My best friend
Welcome
Habibi has come. Yeah, so I'd also just like to emphasize one thing that Kathir says here that I think is very important. And I'd like to wait till Chris gets back because this is kind of important to me. But actually, I'm going to go let Goose out real quick. I will be back as well.
All right, everybody, it's my job to keep y'all entertained until everyone gets back. Yeah, the Zohar, I wish I could. Ash, I can't bring your comment up. I have no control. But so I'm not reading the actual Zohar at the moment, but there's a book called the Essential Zohar, which I guess is just a commentary on it. And yeah, I'm actually kind of sad. It is kind of boring. I was really with the amount of people like the Jay Dyers of the world who comment about Kabbalah all the time. I was really hoping it would be something else, but it's not. It's kind of boring.
Sorry, I also want to urinate upon my foe, the toilet.
While you were off, I was telling Chase that one of the things that I just read about was the fact that, so in the Zohar, they also claim that Isaac's blessing had the power to reverse the action of the garden. because of the give and take, because like all of Kabbalah is built on this concept of giving and receiving, and that Isaac's blessing through his like ultimate gifting through the sacrifice, because the sacrifice was also testing Isaac apparently, because apparently Isaac was 37 during that time.
Yeah.
Is that Talmud?
It's some people's interpretations of it, yeah.
Because even though it says boy,
Mm-hmm.
like the language of the scripture says
Yeah.
boy, calls him a boy.
Rashi came and said that he was 37 when it happened, and Rebecca was 3, and that's where they get it from.
Oh.
And Seder Olam Rabbah goes over that as well. And actually, no, they give the age of 14 for Rebecca, but I do think they name him as 37. There's only like 2 sources that actually say Rebecca's 3. All the other ones say she was at least a teenager, if not a 30-year-old woman. But yeah, nah, dude, Talmud is all over the place.
This is the proof.
The proof.
Eventually, I'll read the Talmud. How
long?
How
is
big
it?
is the Talmud? How much? How?
It's a little over a million words. It's about almost twice the size of a Bible.
Did you just say eventually I'll read the Talmud, Andrew?
At least try to.
It's not meant to be read like that, though.
No, you should. You just go through each tractate.
Well, you can, but to me, like, I thought that the Talmud was mostly topical. Like, you can study it, but it's not like a book necessarily. It's more
right.
It's a little bit more
you just read every single tractate and then mentally connect the dots after you're done.
Right.
Or do it again and then connect the dots. Yeah.
You have to remember that like 8 people can be talking about the exact same thing at once and have completely different opinions. Anyways.
Okay.
Right.
So if you said it's like over 1 million words, that would be close to 2.5 Brandon Sanderson books. So like I've done this. I've done this already.
Are you talking about just the Mishnah?
No, the Talmud. The Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud.
So
those are the fattest books I've read are the Stormlight Archives. So I was looking and I was like, well, the Way of Kings is 384,000 words and Words of Radiance is 400,000 words. And then Oathbringer's 455,000. So yeah, about 2.5. And I did that in like 6 months. So I
was thinking it was 1.2 in my head. It's actually 1.8 million words.
That's what I was going to say. It's got to be way more than 1 million words.
It's 1.8 million words.
So
it'll take like a year.
But would you?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I've read maybe like 25% of it, just doing topical studies for the book. And it's been a lot.
Yeah, Faizy, did you say that you met Jesus and he said that the Father is greater than I? El Islam. Anyways, Chris, I wanted to withhold. Yeah, I know. I saw that and I was like, what?
El Islam. That's just the way you said it.
Yeah. I wanted to reserve this till you got back, but it says in his decisions, misleading those who deserve to be misled and guiding those who deserve guidance. This is from Allah's wisdom with his creation. Every prophet he sent to people who spoke their language, and every one of these prophets were only sent to their people.
Mashallah, it's Avodah Zarah, 2B.
So
That's from the Talmud.
Like, am I supposed to listen to what Muhammad said? He's not one of my people. Is the Kitab Allah supposed to be for me too? I mean, I don't know. You could say the prophet. You could say the prophet's not sent to me, but the message is, because the messages are all the same. But that's not true. So you have a predicament here. Anyways, that's Tafsir numero uno, because I don't know what one is in Arabic. 2668. is where we will be headed next. 26.
Wow, you're really trying to refute Islam, and you don't even know what 1 is in Arabic. Obviously, you don't have nearly as much education as Muhammad Hijab.
Just be a kid.
Am I?
Wahid.
I think I. Then we drown.
I was thinking it was closer to
the
Hebrew.
And your Lord
Wahid.
creates whosoever he. I just read that. We read that up here. That's not 2668. 2868. Chase. Good night. You know, maybe if I was as educated as Bucktoothed God Logic, I might be able. Yeah, he just kept calling him Bucktoothed, uneducated, like boy. Like he just kept calling him these things.
He was just insulting him the whole time.
You
Yeah, no.
are
Yeah.
It's
like, why would anyone want to talk to that dude?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah. It's funny too because like that works sometimes for Muslims, but like it's just crazy to me that he doesn't realize that it just makes him look like an idiot to Christians. Like it just doubles down on why a Christian would never want to be a Muslim, because they see Muslims acting like that and thinking they're winning a debate by just pandering and not actually answering the question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, Muhammad Hijab's so tough. Did you guys see how tough he is? Just slamming his chest and be like, you're just uneducated. I have 6 degrees. I write books. Okay.
You're black. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did say that one time, didn't he? Anyways,
kind of racist, my guy. Anyway.
This is what I really like this verse. It says, and your Lord creates what he wills and chooses, not for them was the choice. Let's see what the Tafsir have to say on this. Ibn Kathir. And you'd say, oh, but this is Ibn Kathir abridged. Dude, this is on your Quran.com website. Shut up. This is your sources. Allah alone is the one who has the power of creation, knowledge, and choice. Allah tells us that he is the only one who has the power to create and make decisions. Guys, the only one who can make this. Do you know how crazy of a statement this is? This isn't compatibilism anymore. Because compatibilism at least technically holds that you also have a part in the decision-making process, however insignificant it may be. This is not compatibilism anymore. This is teaching straight up hard determinism.
No, Faisy, you don't understand.
Faisy, why do you want us to be misguided? Why do you want us to go to hell?
It's just more Muslims.
I know
true colors.
Well, again, I feel like my rationality argument. This is the second Muslim who has told me that he wants me to be misguided and to burn in hell after I've brought up this rationality.
I've had at least 100 of those. Yeah.
No, but after like this argument specifically, right? This is the second time that I've had this happen.
Honestly, it puts together great evidence for Christianity, in my opinion. Christians want to see people be saved. Muslims enjoy watching people be misguided. They get enjoyment out of that. This is entertainment for him to watch people be misguided. What a backwards religion is that? Isn't that great? And he doesn't see it. He can't see how wrong that is to be happy that someone's going to burn in hell. He can't see it that makes his God a monster. Like, what are you like? Are you blind? Are you genuinely blind that you can't see the problem of your own logic, that you like watching people be misguided? And you're not misguiding us. Allah is misguiding us. If we're not Muslims, it's because Allah has not commanded us to be Muslims with your own understanding. You don't get it. Faisy, think rationally, brother. Think rationally.
There's no justice in Islam. There's no such thing.
Andrew, you have to understand. We're not Muslims, not because Allah didn't command us to be Muslims, but because the sock puppet that's in one of his right hands that is mimicking us, you got what's that old kids TV show with the sock that's literally a sock? Is it Ubi? Whatever his name is.
Came on PBS?
Yes. What was his name?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember. PBS sock puppet show.
What's his name?
Ubi, yeah.
Ubi. I knew it. But he's
Lamb
he's
chop?
got here's Andrew. Here's Andruby, if you will.
Ooh,
And he's like, I will not be Muslim. I am Christian going to hell. Ha 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 ha. This is what Allah is doing. Because Andrew, and you know, to me, whenever I think about hard determinism, I don't like I have a hard time understanding how people actually exist in hard determinism. Just because for this reason alone. Because it's like you're not you. You're not yourself. Like anyways.
If you
This
think
show gave me
anything,
nightmares as
to
a kid.
identify as
Hold on.
per logic and follow the true statement. We'll get to that. We will get to that, Fazy. If you hold on, yes, Ubi, bro. If you hold on for just 2 seconds, I'm going to show you.
Terrifying, dude. So
there's
scary.
no
Hey,
logic in
dude,
Islam.
Normal Muslim guy. We just spent the past hour going over your sources, talking about how hard determinism is absolutely taught in your religion. So let's go over this again. This is Ibn Kathir talking about chapter 28, verse 68. And your Lord creates what he wills and chooses. Not for them was the choice. Exalted is Allah, high above what they associate with him. He is the only one who has the power to create and make decisions. Go ahead and pause. Read that a couple times. And there's no one who can dispute with him in that or reverse his judgment. This is Ibn Kathir.
Right.
Now, this is the part that I
we
want to
can't
get
actually
to.
save ourselves from hell. We can't. That's the thing, Fazy. We literally can't in Islamic theology.
Whoa.
We
How is-
cannot identify it.
So are you saying that
As
if
from
Islam
logic.
does teach hard determinism that it's stupid?
No, hold on. I don't. He's talking about. I think he's talking about what I said when I said that there's no logic in Islam. I don't think he's
that's
talking
true.
about the determinism thing.
Okay.
I don't understand where he's coming. How does Islam have justice? Go ahead and put in the chat. How does Islam have any form of justice?
Yeah. But
Also,
anyways,
the
we'll
Quran
get
does contradict itself hundreds
Yeah,
of times.
the Quran contradicts
Yeah.
itself all the time.
we'll get
Yeah.
we'll get to that. Hey, and we can get to how the Lord Jesus can take on a second nature and all that stuff. But we're gonna focus on this for right now because I think this is a pretty powerful argument, normal Muslim guy and Fazy. Justice, let's disregard justice right now, right? We're talking about rationality. Okay.
I'm sorry.
And I'm not talking necessarily to Andrew or anything. I'm just saying we're building a point here. So it says, and your Lord creates whatsoever he wills and chooses. Means whatever he wills for, or whatever he wills for what he wills happens. And what he does not will does not happen. All things, good and bad alike, are in his hands and will, notice this, return to him. Meaning they are his responsibility, is what I understand from what this means, is that's kind of his responsibility. So that's what Ibn Kathir has to say about this. Let's read Ibn Kathir on Surah 35, verse 8, and this will be the last tafsir we read. I didn't have a ton of other commentators, but I, Lord willing, plan on going with Usama through a bunch of other commentators to bolster this argument. Here we have chapter 35, verse 8. Then is one to whom the evil of his deed has been made attractive, so he considers it good. So like a person who considers an evil thing that he did to be something that is for Allah. For example, like, we as Christians would say that sharing the gospel with people is good, but if Islam is true, sharing the gospel with people is bad. So you're saying this one whom the evil of his deed has been made attractive, so he considers it good. So like us sharing the gospel, for instance. For indeed, Allah sends astray those whom he wills and guides whom he wills. So do not let yourself perish over them and regret. Indeed, Allah is knowing of what they do. We already read this before. I won't go through it too much, but I'd like to look at what Ibn Kathir says about this verse. The punishment of the disbeliever and the reward of the believer on the day of resurrection. Having stated that the ultimate destiny of the followers of Iblis will be the blazing fire, Allah then tells us that for those who disbelieve, there will be a severe punishment. This is because they obeyed the shaitan and disobeyed ar-Rahman or Allah. Or so Muhammad says that they're the same. It says here, and do righteous good deeds. There. Oh wait, hang on. Is he considering as good, meaning such as disbelievers or immoral persons who do evil deeds and believe that they are doing something good, i.e., a person who is like that has been misguided by Allah. So what can you do for him? You cannot help him at all. Notice, if we're out there sharing the gospel, Allah says, let it go. Can't do anything to help him, right? Verily, Allah sends astray whom he wills and guides whom he wills, means according to his decree. So this isn't just, a passive will, like as in Allah wills that all things be upheld. This isn't a will as in Allah wills that we have a will. This means according to his decree. Only things that he has decreed will happen. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. So, unfortunately, you're not here to save us from hell, Fazy, because that is Allah's problem. Anyways, so now that we have established exactly, there's not a single thing that you could do
to save anyone from hell.
How can we abrogate the Bible?
No, they're having hold on. Trust me, they're having a whole back and forth in the chat right now.
Okay. First of all, never mind. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about it.
Chase, I'll say this.
Okay.
I personally, I think your presentation, I think, is very, very good. The problem is, I genuinely think Muslims are just not anywhere near prepared to handle it because they don't believe that Islam is deterministic. And I know you have to show it. It's like, and I mean, these guys who are coming in way later, like if they had seen the whole presentation, they might be convinced. Probably not, just because you can't convince them.
But here's the thing, right? I mean, I'm not beholden to any Muslim who comes into the chat asking me to prove this to them. They can go back and rewatch the presentation that I just gave. I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt, unequivocally proven that Allah is deterministic and that everything happens according to his will. So, having said that,
which is the standard Sunni belief.
Yeah.
If you're a Sunni Muslim, you must believe that.
I believe it's the Asharis and the Maturidis who both completely affirm it, and I think the Atharis and a couple other camps are less so, but they have a similar view.
But those first two camps make up 80% of Islam.
Right.
Like the vast majority of Muslims are those. So if you're a Muslim, chances are your theology, you should be affirming total divine determinism in all things.
Right. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to present to you an argument in syllogism form, and I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen. The reason I didn't share my screen on the document earlier is because I didn't want any Muslim to say that I was misquoting something or that that Ibn Kathir never said that, right? I want to be able to make sure that all the things that I put forth were completely reliable from Muslim sources themselves. So let's go ahead and put up this here. Mashallah, mashallah. Is that good? Is that good? Good size?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
here's bigger if you can.
Here is the argument.
That's good.
All right. Mashallah. Under Islamic determinism /compatibilism, now I put /compatibilism in there for a reason, just because I think it makes some things more palatable for the Muslim to take if they would rather say that they're more compatibilistic and not hard deterministic. That's fine. Allah is the ultimate sufficient cause of whether or not a person believes in Islam. Notice here, I'm modifying the argument from rationality to accommodate what the Quran says very clearly and what Muslims largely do not deny. You may deny that Allah, decides whether you have chicken tenders or tater tots, but you cannot deny that Allah guides whom he wills and misguides whom he wills. So we cannot, there's no denying that. That is an unequivocal statement in the Quran. For a person to rationally believe in Islam, their belief must be appropriately explained by their grasp of the reasons/evidence for it. Okay, so if you let's say, you know, I ask, hey Andrew, I heard you took your shahada the other day. Why do you believe that? And Andrew would say, look, man, you know, scientific miracles in the Quran, perfect preservation, right? Monotheism makes sense. All these different things. You cite all of these different evidences for Islam. And that is your foundation. That's your basis for belief in Islam. Here comes point number 3. If Allah's decree is the sufficient explanation of the belief, now I'd like to define sufficient. Sufficient just means that it is sufficient. Sufficient means that it is sufficient to guarantee a certain outcome, right? So cutting off somebody's head is a sufficient cause for killing that person. Now, that does not mean that cutting off somebody's head is the only way to kill somebody. But that just means that if you cut somebody's head off, then the conclusion of them dying necessarily follows. So if Allah's decree is the sufficient guarantor of a person's belief, then the person's grasp of reasons is not the ultimate explanatory ground of their belief. We'll add in Islam there, so that way we keep it on topic. If the person's appreciation of reasons does no real explanatory work in producing the belief, then the person does not genuinely believe on the basis of reason. Right? So if Allah determined you to believe something, then whether or not you find the evidence compelling personally is irrelevant to your belief. And we could argue that point all day, because you and I both know the exact same proofs for Islam. One of us is a Muslim and the other one is not. So clearly Allah doesn't just guide based on amount of evidence given, and he doesn't guide based on some form of logical, you know, equation that he has, because if so, then people who, you know, grow up in, you know, the same house, like, yeah, me and my sisters, and have similar friends and stuff, then we would all have the same outlook on life, but we are pretty different people. Now, the last point necessarily follows if the preceding premises are true. If no one ever believes in Islam on the basis of reasons, Islam is not rationally justified. I think that this is pretty clear, right? If you're not believing in Islam based on evidence, then you do not have a rational justification for your belief. I feel like that's a pretty simple and cohesive and coherent explanation of the argument from rationality against Islam. I'd be more than happy to talk about this with any Muslim who is maybe currently not listening but engaging with the chat, which is just fine. But I think that this is a pretty decent explanation. I will be making it better. I will be making a slide presentation on it as well. But I just wanted to get it out there, because I know that, you know, a lot of the times when we talk about Islam, right, you have all these Muslims and they filibuster with your book is corrupted. They filibuster with the clear Quran. They filibuster with a lot of things, but I feel like this argument really gets to the heart of the issue, because it hits at one of the core doctrines of Islam, the qadr, right, the determinism, and it hits very deep. It's very deep philosophically, and it's very hard to wriggle out of it one way or another. I think it's a very solid argument. So you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides what he wills because he knows what's in their hearts. He is closer to us than our jugular vein. Absolutely. Hey, I'm not saying that he doesn't guide you based on what's in your heart. I'm saying he determines what's in your heart too. Because that's what I mean. That's very clearly what is being taught in your sources.
Yeah,
you oftentimes you have determinists who will say, "Oh yeah, but," and especially Calvinists are very bad about this. They'll say, "Oh yeah, but you never do anything that's against your will." I'm not saying you ever do anything that's against your will. I'm saying that God determines what your will is.
Right.
So yeah, that's my argument. And this argument also, a normal Muslim guy, you are more than welcome to say that, but I really just feel like you've never spent as much time formulating this argument as I have on
if you're saying the argument
against Christianity, because
the argument's an argument because you're not listening.
This argument has been developed for a very long time. This is not something new. And so I don't like.
Hold on.
This also here, just one last thing.
Yeah.
This also gets past the whole interpretation thing, because people are like, "Oh yeah, that's your interpretation of this. Oh yeah, that's your interpretation of that," in like the scriptures. But this kind of circumvents that whole thing, and it gets to a very, very clear and concise argument against Islam. We don't have to filibuster about what a verse means, what a word means, how it was used, right? We just get to a very logical philosophical argument. Anyways, please continue.
What I was going to say is, he says, "I fully agree. What is your point?" The point is, you cannot have come to Islam rationally or logically. That is the point. The point is
that's what it says right here.
You are, so if he's looking for the point, it's right there. No, you don't. That's literally what this whole thing was trying to show.
We just spent an hour.
You literally just said, "I fully agree." If you fully agreed, you were fully agreeing that you believe in exhaustive determinism. That's what this was presenting, was exhaustive determinism. That's not free will. That is not free will. So you don't actually agree, which means you weren't actually paying attention. You were just responding. You weren't actually listening.
No, we're not underestimating Allah's knowledge. The problem is that you guys actually underestimate God's knowledge, because you don't believe that God can ever know something that he doesn't determine. And this also gets into what determinism is in general. I've heard determinists say that God can't possibly keep up with free will decisions, that there's just too many of them for him to keep up with. That's a stupid statement, right? That's just a dumb statement.
Oh,
you keep saying that. My argument is a real argument, and it is one of the top philosophical arguments, especially against atheism in the modern sphere right now. You could run this against an atheist and they would have nowhere to go. Yeah, he just says, "Nah." He's like the Muhammad Hijab of Chris's freaking chat right now.
Yeah. You present this entire argument? There's not even really an argument there. That's not a real argument. I didn't listen to any of it. I actually fully agree with your argument.
I understand
it's not an argument.
I understand that it doesn't matter how long it's taken to explain an argument. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we just spent an hour going through sources that I think do a very good job of proving our point. So you can look at that. It's not like we spent 10 minutes glazing over your sources, or glossing over your sources rather, and making crap up, right? I feel like this is it.
You're
dude,
right.
Oh my gosh, dude. That is not an argument.
Who cares?
I will say that for a fact. That is
Once
not
again,
an argument.
Just because something doesn't make sense to you does not mean it's not true. You haven't actually provided any evidence to support why we shouldn't believe that. So again, just saying, "How does that make sense?" Okay, then I don't agree. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. This is logically coherent. It is logically, at the very least, you have to admit that this is logically. What's the one that's it's logically. It's logically not sound, but it's logically coherent. What's the word for it though? The formal word. That logically follows. No, sound means that it's coherent. That it
sound means it's true.
Yeah, sound means that it corresponds to
reality.
reality.
Sound means that it follows and it's true.
Right.
Valid means it follows, but it might not be true.
Yes,
Sound means it's valid and true.
Right. What I was going to say is I feel like this argument is at the very least logically valid. I think that the premises do follow. It's up to you to determine whether or not Dude, yeah, I'm not saying that this argument can
Okay.
specifically be applied to atheists. What I'm saying is you can modify the argument to attack naturalistic determinists, which is what atheists are, and it can very, very clearly dismantle atheism. We can be done with this topic for now. I'm sorry I took up a lot of time. Didn't mean to. But I wanted to go over all of the topics.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
to the point of just ignoring some comments right now because it's just there's no. It's just
All right.
they're not listening.
Let's go through Dul Qarnayn, because this is something that the Muslims are not going to be able to argue about. Whenever we go through
Well, they
both
will.
texts and we just compare them, as if you're being an honest Muslim, you have to ask yourself,
me
does
one.
this show that Muhammad copied humans? Because this is not from God. This was invented in the mid to late 500s. Okay, so Surah 18 came about 4 years into his ministry. So right around 613, 614 AD. It says, actually, all the stuff that happens before it is also Islamic, or not Islamic, it's Jewish and Christian, by the way. So the stuff with the fish and the stuff with Al-Qadr, both of those are stolen as well. So this is not the only thing stolen in Surah 18. Pretty much all this whole section is from like 60 to the end of it. Anyway, they will ask you about Dul Qarnayn. Why will they ask you? Well, we'll go through that in a little bit. Say, I recite to you a remembrance of him. Who was Dul Qarnayn? Well, Jaleel. He has a fun one. Then the Jews question you concerning Dul Qarnayn, whose name was Alexander. He was not a prophet. Say, I shall relate to you a mention of an account of him as of his affair. So just straight up says Alexander is Dul Qarnayn. And then if we go through Ibn Kathir, and it brings it down, it does talk about how he, like, what happened to get them to talk about this. So about Dul Qarnayn, we have already mentioned how the disbelievers of Mecca sent word to the people of the book and asked them for some information with which they could test the prophet. They, the people of the book, said, ask him about a man who traveled extensively throughout the earth, and about some young men who nobody knows what they did, and about the Ru'ah. Then Surat Al-Kahf was revealed Dul Qarnayn had great power. So his description of Dul Qarnayn comes from the people of the book. Ask him a question about who was the person who traveled throughout the land. And then we get through the rest of the Dul Qarnayn story. Indeed, we have made him strong in the land and gave him the means to achieve everything. So that's going to be stolen. And he followed a road. That's going to be stolen until he reached the setting place of the sun. That's going to be stolen. He found it in the setting of a spring of muddy water. That's going to be stolen. And he found a people nearby. That's stolen. He said, O Dul Qarnayn, either punish them or show them kindness. That is stolen. And then we keep going. He said, as for him who does wrong, we will punish him. That's stolen. And then he will be brought back to his Lord, who will punish him with an awful punishment. That's kind of stolen, but it's a little bit more original. It has more of the Islamic flair. But as for him who believes and does right, good will be his reward, and will speak a mild command to him. That's not part of it. Then he followed a road that is stolen until he reached the rising place of the sun. That is stolen. He found it in a rising people for whom he had appointed no shelter from it. That's stolen. So it was, and we knew everything about him. And then he followed a road until when he came between the two mountains. This is stolen. He found on one side a people that could barely understand word. They said, O Dul Qarnayn, indeed, Gog and Magog, this is all stolen, are spoiling the land, so we may pay you tribute on the condition that you set a barrier between us and them. This is stolen. He said, in that which my Lord has established me is better. Just help me with strength. I will set a barrier between you and them. This is stolen. Give me pieces of iron until when they had leveled up between the cliffs. He said, blow until when he made a fire. And he said, bring me molten copper to pour on. That's stolen. And they were not able to surmount it, nor could they pierce it. And he said, this is a mercy from my Lord. But when the promise of my Lord comes to pass, he will lay it low, for the promise of my Lord is true. And that's stolen. And on that day, we will let some of them surge against others, and the trumpet will be blown, and they will gather them together in one gathering. This is stolen. On that day, we will present Gehenna to the unbelievers clear to view. And then it keeps going. So, I want to go through a couple of the backstory to it. Then I want to read through the actual story where this is being stolen from. So, this is Sahih Bukhari 3199. The Prophet asked me at sunset, do you know where the sun goes at the time of sunset? I replied, Allah and his apostle know better. He said it goes until it travels, until it prostrates itself underneath the throne and takes the permission to be rise again. This is stolen. And it is permitted, and then a time will come when it will be able to prostrate itself, but its prostration will not be accepted, and will ask permission to go on its course, but will not be permitted, and will be ordained to return whence it came, so it will rise in the west. That's also stolen from the Jews, but that's not going to be part of the thing tonight. So the prostrating to God is what I want to cover, and then we also have in Ibn Dawood, book 25, hadith number 3991. Although if you go to sunnah.com, this is not the same hadith number, which is really annoying. It's also why I'm on this website instead of Sunnah. Narrated by Abu Dara, I was sitting behind the apostle of Allah, who was riding a donkey while the sun was setting. He asked, do you know where it sets? I replied, Allah and his apostle know best. He says it sets in a spring of warm water. So we have multiple people saying that it will do that. And then I want to bring up this source. So I'm going to stop streaming that, start streaming this, and let's read through.
Dude, we're getting to the
book.
proof, bro.
Okay, so this is Nashana de Alexandros, also known as the Victory of Alexander. In English, it's known as the Syriac Alexander legend. So,
Mashallah.
This is the story. Well, let's read through, and we're going to compare in our head. This story predates the story in the Quran by about 90 years. So almost a full century, this thing predates it. So we're just going to read through it, and we're going to see how similar are these two accounts, and is this account the source material for the Quran, or was it from Allah? This I have as a PDF. I'll put it in the description of the video or of the stream after the fact. I'll find it and put it up there. Or I'll do it whenever Chase is talking about the Testament of Solomon. I'll send it eventually. You'll get it.
Your audio is really out of sync at the moment.
Mine?
Yes.
Yes. Oh man, that sucks. Okay. I could fix that real quick. There we go.
He keeps saying stolen because he's about to show you how it's stolen. It's
crazy, isn't it?
It's stolen.
Setting up for people to think about it whenever we reread it. They can see, oh yeah, that's obviously where it's coming from.
Are you have to, okay. We had an intellectually honest Muslim on yesterday who actually, before we even mentioned it, affirmed
from Jews.
Affirmed that a lot of what is in the Quran, I don't think he affirmed that a lot of it, but some of what is in the Quran is just stolen from the Jews. He said that before we really even said anything.
Right. Yeah. So let's read through this and then compare it in our head as we're going through. The Victory of Alexander. So that's just this sentence here in English. Son of Philip of Macedonia, how he went out to the ends of the world and made a gate of iron, which he closed in front of the wind of the north, so that the Huns could not come out and plunder the countries, from the writings and the archives of the kings of Alexandria. In the 2nd or 7th year of his reign, Alexander put the crown on his head and clothed with the garment of his kingdom. He dispatched, you can see my mouse, it's cool. He dispatched to summon the knotters of the crowns of his kingdom, the commanders, the patricians, the guards, and the entirety of his army. He asked them and said, listen, you all, members of my palace. They told him, speak, wise king of the Greeks, whatever you command us, we will be accomplished. Alexander told them, this thought came to my mind, and I am seized by amazement. What is the extent of the earth, and what is the height of heaven? How many are the countries of the other kings, and on what are heavens based? Or perhaps clouds and winds that lift them up? Or rather, columns of fire raising them from the earth that support the sky so they do not move? Are they hung to God's nod and do not fall? And this is what I desire to go and see upon what the heavens lie and what surrounds the whole creation. You got the invisible pillars that hold up the sky there. It's pretty cute. The nobles answered, telling the king, command us to speak. Alexander gave command, and they spoke and told him, my lord, concerning the thing that your majesty of your greatness wants to go and see, upon what the heavens lie and what surrounds the earth, the frightening seas that surround the world will not allow the way, because there are 11 shining seas on which the ships of men travel. After beyond there is dry land for about 10 miles, beyond which is the fetid sea. That's an interesting term. The ocean that surrounds the whole creation. Men cannot approach this fetid sea, neither can ships travel on it, nor can birds fly over it. If a bird fly over it, it is hunted, it falls down, it is suffocated in it. Its waters are like pus, which is kind of what the word related for the murky is. And men swim, and if men swim in it, they die. The leaves of the trees bordering it are burnt by the smell of those waters, like as fire has consumed them. The nobles said these things to King Alexander, who told them, "Have ye gone by your feet and seen that the sea is so?" They replied, "Yes, wise king, because the same thought that came to your majesty's mind also came to ours. We went to see what the heavens lie upon, but the fetid sea did not allow us crossing." Alexander told them, "I do not think you are lying, but even if you went and the fetid sea did not allow you the crossing, I will also go and see myself all the ends of heavens. And if there's a king whose land are more than mine, I will seize his land." So this is also the context what Ibn Kathir is highlighting here, why that is appearing in Surah Al-Kahf. Even if he was from the regions where the pillagers came out, all of the members of his palace accepted what Alexander had told them. At once the horns resonated in Alexandria, and the army that was going to leave with him was numbered. It included 320,000 men. King Alexander bowed and, worshiping, said, "O God, master of kings and judges, you who raise up kings and dismiss their power," so he's a monotheist, I perceive with my mind that you have made me great among all kings." This is basically like word for word from the Quran, that Allah is the one that grants him authority and power and makes him great, and that you caused horns to grow in my head. Okay. What does Dhul Qarnayn mean?
Two-horned.
The two-horned one. Okay, that's interesting. In the Syriac, it's Qartana. It's a related word, but it's not the exact same word. If it's the exact same word, that would be really something. But we get this in the Peshitta. So, whenever it talks about the two horns in Daniel 8, in the Peshitta, the Syriac translation of the Old Testament and the New Testament, we get that Darius and Mede, "And I raised my eyes, and I saw, and behold, one ram standing before a bull, and it had horns, and its horns were high, and one higher than its neighbor." This word here is the same word inside of the legend, the Alexander legend, and it is plural. The Syriac doesn't have the dual form. Hebrew does, Arabic does, Syriac doesn't. So it either has singular or plural, kind of like English. So this is in the plural form, but then it counts them as one higher than its neighbor. So it indicates that there's only two horns. And then this one is high, and this one high afterward grew up, and so on. Now I was considering this Alexander of Philippus. Well, who's that? Well, Alexander the Great is the son of King Philip. So this is Alexander, son of Philip. And then why is this in brackets here? Well, the translator is interpreting something that happens later on in the text. Later down in 21, it just straight up says Alexandrus, and the kid of goats is the king of the Greeks. So it just straight up adds that he is the horned one of this text. And mind you, the text that I was presenting earlier is written by Christians who would be using the Peshitta. So the concept of the two-horned one for Alexander the Great comes from the Peshitta, and then it gets solidified here. And again, this horns are made of iron, and they are plural. So we don't know if it's 2, 3, 4, 5 here, but from the context of Daniel 8, from the Peshitta, it is two-horned. "So that I may gore them with the kingdoms of the world, give me the power from the heavens of your sanctity, so that I may receive strength greater than the kingdoms of the world, and I will humiliate them and glorify your name forever, O Lord." So again, he's a monotheist. He is essentially a Christian, as we see as this goes on. So the Christians kind of took on Alexander the Great, even though he's a pagan and a kind of a messed up dude. The Christians like, "Oh, well, if anyone that great," and the Jews did this too, anyone that great had to have been led by God. So then they make him into a holy monotheist when he straight up wasn't. So Your remembrance will stay forever and ever. I will write your name, O God, on the papers of my kingdom so that there may always be a memorial for you. And if the Messiah, who is the Son of God, comes during my days, I will bow in front of him, me and my troops. So now he's a Christian monotheist. And if he does, but again, Messiah, Son of God, and if he does not come during my days, once I will have gone and defeated kings and seized their lands, I will bring and set in Jerusalem his throne, that is a chair of silver in which I sit. And when the Messiah comes from heaven, he will sit on my throne because his kingdom will stand forever. Now, obviously, you get Jesus being the Messiah in Islam and coming from heaven at the last days in Islam. So you get some of the stuff within the Quran and within Islamic theology in general, although you would omit the Son of God verse there, which he does with a bunch of things he quotes, including like the infancy gospels, which start out with "Praise be to Jesus, God," and yada yada yada. The Quran quotes multiple books that says Jesus is God explicitly. Fun fact.
Yeah, like the Bible, but he doesn't actually quote it because he doesn't have it.
Right. No, but I mean, it quotes. Well, it paraphrases the infancy gospels, the Arabic infancy gospel, the infancy gospel of Thomas, and the infancy gospel of James, and all three of those say Jesus is God. So, anyway, and 700 pounds of gold will be the gift put before the Messiah at his arrival. Why does he need gold? Who knows? And whether I die in one of the regions of the world or here in Alexandria, the crown of my kingdom will be taken and lifted up upon the throne, which I offer to the Messiah. And they went out and moved to Mount Sinai, where they encamped and rested, and they put the ships to sea and crossed over to Egypt, that is Aegyptus. Sure. Watchmen went to observe whether the seas, Aegyptus, yeah, that makes sense, and their waves could be seen or not. And the commanders of the army said, King Alexander, since the troop cannot proceed without blacksmiths, he's gathering blacksmiths, command that they come with us from Egypt, because on the surface of the earth there are not such blacksmiths as those from Egypt. Alexander called Sarkonos, king of Egypt, and he told him, give me 7,000 blacksmiths, workers in bronze and iron, who may come with me. So there's the concept of the stupid amount of blacksmiths coming and providing iron, and this one has bronze instead of copper, but they're the same color. And when I come back from the regions where I am going, if they desire to be returned hither, I will send them back, and the desire to remain in one of the regions under the rule of my kingdom, I will allow them. They will not pay tribute to the king, but they will give us customs daily. Sarkonos, king of Egypt, selected 7,000 men, workers of bronze and iron, and gave them to Alexander. And the two kings ate bread together. Then they put the ships down to sea, traveled over it for 4 months and 12 days, until they arrived at the dry land that is beyond the 11 bright seas. Alexander and his troops encamped, and he sent and summoned the commander who was with the camp and said, are there any men here who are sentenced to death? The commander told him, there are 37 men among our prisoners who are sentenced to death. And the king told the commander, bring here those evildoers. So now he's punishing the evildoers, as happened in the Quran. When they brought them, the king commanded them and said, go to the shore of the fetid sea and pitch poles to tie to the ships, and arrange everything which is required for an army that is crossing over the sea. The men went and arrived at the bank of the sea. Alexander had thought, if it is true, as they say, that everyone who gets close to the fetid sea dies, then it has better be those who are sentenced to death to die, which is pretty based. Then the prisoners went, and when they reached the seashore, they died at once. Alexander and his troop were watching them dying, as since he and his nobles had mounted their horses to see what would happen to them. And they saw that they died at once. When they reached the sea, King Alexander was frightened and withdrew, for he knew they could not cross to the ends of heavens. The whole camp mounted. So now he went to where the sea, or the fetid sea, was on the road, couldn't cross it, and then is leaving. And they went out between the fetid sea and the shining sea until reaching the place where the sun enters the window of heaven. So where the sun enters the window of heaven at the murky pool. Because the sun is the servant of the Lord, let's say the servant of Allah, and never interrupts its journey, so it can't have its course deviate. And at neither night nor day, the place from where it rises is above the sea. When it is about to rise, the people who dwell there flee and hide in the sea in order of not being burnt by its rays. What does that sound like? It then crosses over the middle of heavens until reaching the place where it enters the window of heaven. Where it passes by are terrifying mountain peaks. Those who dwell there have caves dug in the rock. As soon as they see the sun rising, men and birds flee from it and hide in the caves because the stones burnt by its flames roll down and incinerate at once whatever they touch, be it humans or beasts. As soon as the sun enters the window of heaven, it prostrates before God and venerates his creator. So now we have a Muslim sun worshiping God, prostrating before him as it's traveling at night. It then travels and descends the entire night in the skies until it finds itself at the place where it rises. Alexander watched toward the sunset and saw a mountain that descends, whose name is Great Musas. They went down across that mountain and reached the Mount Qualdea, where they ate bread. They descended to the source of the Euphrates, and they found that it pours out of a cave. They arrived at Heloris, where the Tigris gushes like a stream that makes a millstone grind. After eating bread at Heloris, they left from there and went to the river Kalth. Then they went up to a mountain which is called Ramut, where there's a watchtower. Alexander's army stood on the top of the mountain, watching the four winds of heaven. Alexander said, "Let us take the way of the north." They, again, going north, and they reached the limits of the north when they entered Armenia, Azerbaijan, and the inner Armenia. They passed by the lands of the Alexander passed by all these lands, and after passing by the mountain Moses, he entered a valley which is called Belipt. He went and encamped at the entrance of the great mountain. There is an inn that place by which the merchants access the inner regions. Alexander camped there and dispatched heralds of peace who rode around and proclaimed in the whole land, "The king of the Greeks has come to this land without killing, burning, or destroying. May each one remain in peace." Man, if only they could say that about someone else. Let 300 men, elder in age, be selected. Let them come into my presence, said King Alexander, so that I may learn from them what I seek, and may each one remain in peace. When the people of the land heard what the heralds of peace proclaimed, they were not afraid. They chose 300 old men who went to the presence of Alexander as soon as he had encamped in the country and commanded the people not to flee before him. And when the old men of the land came before him, they asked, "Who are you? To whom do we pay tribute? And who is the king who rules over this country?" The old men answered and told the king, "This land belongs to Tablark, the king of the Persians, who is the family of the house of Sure. It is him that we give gold." Alexander told them, "And for how long does this mountain descend that way?" They replied, "This mountain goes forth without breach. It passes by the sea of Betkuret, and it proceeds until coming to the end towards Persia exterior and towards India. And from this way upward, the mountain reaches to a big river, which is on this side of the sea. And there are in the narrow arrow paths through which a man cannot go unless he is mounted on a horse, and no one can go through those paths without carrying ringing bells, because animals coming up from the sea and the rivers or descending from the mountains crouch down the paths, so that if someone goes through them without carrying ringing bells, he dies at once. Interesting. So Alexander said that this mountain is higher and more frightening than all the mountains with which I've ever seen. The men of old of the region told the king, "Your Majesty, my lord the king, neither us nor our fathers have been capable of making a single step through it, and men cannot go up from either this side or that, as this is the boundary that God has placed between us, and that the people who are on its other side," Alexander said, "Who are the people who are on the other side of this mountain we are observing?" The people of the land told him, "It is the Huns." Alexander told him, "And who are their kings?" The men replied, "Gog and Magog." So that's the Huns, who are Gog and Magog. This also comes up in the Alexander Romance and the Song of Alexander as well. That is Gog and Magog, but it's way more explicit in the legend. Okay. And the kings of the sons of Japheth and the king Gaig, and these are the kings of the Huns. Alexander said, "What is their like? What is their like? What their clothings and languages?" The old men responded and told the king, "Among them there are some who have blue eyes, and the women who have only one breast each. And the women are more bellicose than men because they fight men with their knives." So granted, what is their language is one of his questions. The Quran says explicitly that they barely have any speech. So this is portraying them as basically like animals. They're not really communicative, the same way the Quran is saying. Anyway, At their flanks, arms, and necks, they hang knives so that if one of them goes into combat wherever she extends her hand, she can pull out a knife. They wear worked skins, eat the raw flesh of whatever dies, and drink the blood of men and animals. They do not besiege cities and fortresses, nor did they attack them. Instead, they run to the roads and the gates of the fortresses and cities, surrounding the men who run and face them on the roads. Quicker than blowing wind, before the rumor of them go out to battle is heard, they spread all over the world because they are sorcerers and they run between heaven and earth. Their chariots, their swords, and their spears shine like terrible lightnings. They pull purre in their hands, and each of them has 2 or 3 horses. Each one of them leads with them. 50 or 60 men who go before or after him, and the noise of the lamentation of each of them is more terrible than the noise of a lion, because it is God to deliver the nations, the one in the hands of the others. This is an instrument by God used to destroy the nations. The fear of the Huns is terrifying for all creatures who see them. When they go to battle, they bring a woman who's pregnant, and binding her in front of a fire, they cook her child within her until her womb splits and the child comes out when it is cooked. And they place it in a bowl and throw water on its body, which dissolves it. Then they take their swords, bows, and arrows and their spears and dip them into this water. And to whomever this water touches, it appears as if there were around them 100,000 horsemen, and a troop of 100,000 demons appears to stand by the side of each 100 men, because their sorcerers are greater than those of all kingdoms. And also of this, O Lord, we want to persuade your greatness. The old men said to Alexander, the Huns do not go out to plunder except where the punishment of the Lord raises. So again, this is a tool by God used to punish wickedness, so that the Lord kills fathers and sons and strikes the earth with his wrath, as in their battles they are more dangerous than all kings. Alexander told the natives of that place, did they go out to plunder during your days? The old men told Alexander, my lord the king, may God strengthen your kingdom and your crown. These fortifications which were destroyed in our land and in the land of Romans were destroyed by them. By them, these towers were uprooted. When they go out to plunder, they destroy the lands of the Romans and the lands of the Persians. When they enter their region, Alexander told them, who are the nations who are next to them? The old men told him, the nations of the Pygmies and the Dogmen. Next to the Dogmen is the nation of men. And next to the nation of men, there are no humans, but only fighting mountains, hills, valleys, plains, and frightening caves. No, frightening mountains. I was about to say frightening mountains, hills, valleys, caves, and whatnot, in which there are serpents and vipers, so that men do not go there without being eaten at once by the serpents. Because those regions are deserted and there's nothing there but wilderness, and among all these mountains, God's paradise appears at a distance. This is also getting into a little bit of it, but not super explicitly here. Paradise is close to neither heaven nor earth. Like a noble and a strong city, it appears between heaven and earth. The clouds and the fog that surround it can be seen from distance, and the horn of the wind of the north leans on it. And Alexander told them, how do reformers come? I'm just going to skip this last little because it's really not related. But when Alexander heard what these old men said, he wondered very much at the great sea that surrounds the entire creation. He asked his troops, do you wish that we make something wonderful in this land? They answered, as your majesty commands. Then the king said, let us build a gate of bronze and block up this breach. So there's a hole between the mountains, and Alexander the Great is wanting to block it up with a giant gate of bronze. His troops said, we will do as your majesty commands. If I remember correctly, isn't bronze an alloy of copper? Or am I thinking it the other way around? Yeah, it's copper and tin. So it's literally 88% copper. So whenever the Quran talks about copper and iron for the wall, bronze and iron would be essentially the same thing. His troops said, we will do as your majesty commands, and Alexander commanded to bring 3,000 blacksmiths able to work iron and 3,000 men able to work bronze. They molded bronze and iron like a man who works the clay. Then they brought it and made a gate of 12 cubits of length and 8 cubits of width. He made a lower threshold of 12 cubits of length, and from one mountain to another, he pitched it in the rocks and sealed with bronze and iron. The height of this lower threshold was 300 cubits, which is a massive height. And he made an upper threshold of 12 cubits from the length of one mountain to the other. So again, this is stretching from one mountain to the other, 300 cubits tall. An insanely massive object. Where is this in the world if this actually happened? Where's the gate? Also, where are the mountains at the end of the earth? And where is the fetid sea, in which things will die? He pitched it in the rocks and fixed in 2 bolts of iron and 12 cubits each, and going up 2 cubits into the rocks. So now it's going downward into the earth so that they can't dig under, which is what he's going to explain. He made 2 bolts from one crack to the other on the back of the gate, sealing the heads of the bars into the rocks. He fixed the gate and the bars and placed extremities of iron, trampling them one by one. In that way, if the Huns were to come and dig through the rock beneath the iron threshold, although a footman could still cross through, a horseman on his horse could not, as long as the gate anchored to the soil with bars stood. So this is, again, inside of Islam. They teach that, well, Gog and Magog are trying to dig under it, and they're not able to because of the iron going deeper into it and the copper. He then brought pivots for the gate and embedded them into the loyal threshold. He put them on iron bars and made them move around on the side like the gates of Suzub Birdmeat. Cool. Then men brought kneaded iron and bronze like a man who works the clay, and they smeared them all over the gate. So now, again, you have bronze, you have copper on the outside of the iron, and it's posted one by one, and he made a bolt of iron in the rocks and pitched a key of iron long 12 cubits when he surrounded with bolts of bronze. Thus the gate was lifted up and stood. Alexander brought a scribe who wrote on the gate, "The Huns will come out and will subjugate the lands of the Romans and the Persians. They will shoot arrows, then they will turn around and return to their country. I've also written that at the completion of 826 years, the Huns will come through the narrow path that ends in front of Haloris." So it's 826 years from Alexander. This is around the early 500s, whenever the Persians were destroyed by the Huns. Okay. Then it keeps going, and it says they will take prisoners from among the population that will cut off the roads and make the earth tremble with their raids. I have also written, announced, and prophesied that at the completion of 940 years, another king, when the world will end by the commandment of God, governor of creation, creatures will enrage God, sin will grow, and wrath will reign. Human sins will increase and will cover the skies. In his anger, the Lord will stir up the kingdoms that are behind this gate. For when the Lord seeks to kill men, he sends men against men so that they slay one another. And the Lord will gather the kings in their companies that are behind this mountain. At his signal, they will all gather. This is again in the Quran. They will come with their spears and their swords. They will stand behind the gate, looking at the skies. They will call in the name of the Lord. O Lord, open this gate for us. And the Lord will send his sign from heaven in a voice that will shout against this gate. And there's this Islamic belief that the hordes of Gog and Magog are constantly trying to open the gate, and they would be able to if they remember the name of Allah and to call on the name of Allah. Look at that, they're calling on the name of God. And then he opens the gate, and the Lord will send his sign from heaven, and a voice will shout against this gate, which will be destroyed and will fall at the sign of the Lord. Interestingly, what is 940 years after the time of Alexander?
Me.
It's 628 AD.
Mashallah.
Just so happens to be at the time of Muhammad. And interestingly, let me pull up another source. There is a funny hadith about this topic.
There are no funny hadiths.
Oh, absolutely not. This is Jami al-Tabari, 2187, Sahih as the sun. One day, the messenger of Allah woke from sleep with a flushed red face and said, La ilaha illallah. He repeated it thrice. Woe to the Arabs from the evil drown near. Today, a gap has been made in the wall of Gog and Magog like this. And he formed 10 with his fingers. And Zainab said, I said, O messenger of Allah, shall we be destroyed while there are righteous among us? He said, yes, when the evil abounds.
So there was a wall about this wide. Or there was a hole about this wide
in the wall at the time of Muhammad.
Amen.
And it
Amen.
just so happens to be that there's a prophecy within the source that at the time of Muhammad, the end will come. And it just so happens to be that Muhammad was a doomsday theorist who constantly made doomsday predictions, including this one. And it just so happens to be that all of the story in Surah 18 appears in this earlier source that is predating Muhammad by almost 100 years. And it just so happens to be all of this is false. Where is the wall of Gog and Magog? Alexander the Great, the mighty monotheistic Allah follower Muslim, built. Why was Alexander the Great a pagan in history?
How come his blacksmiths were so good that they just like slapped some freaking iron on the gate like it was Play-Doh? Like what is up with that?
Yeah, the end of the story is also pretty neat. God comes and then sits on Alexander's throne and then has him, like, he helps kill his enemies. It's pretty based. But
It's also
Real W God.
stupid.
yeah, it's pretty stupid. Anyway, this is Dulcarnain. This is Alexander the Great with 2 horns, portrayed on a bust. And he will also have coins with 2 horns for Alexander the Great. There's a lot of 2-horned imagery with Alexander the Great. It's pretty ubiquitous. This is obviously the source for Surah 18. Any Muslim who suggests otherwise, I think, is just not being honest to the text.
Right, and I think the part that they could, that a lot of times they try and wriggle out is they're like, oh, well, it's not, verbatim, all these things. You have to understand that if you're correct, Muhammad couldn't freaking read. So of course it's not going to be verbatim. He's just pulling crap out of his butt, and he's just like, man, I think I remember that this is what he said. You know how often I forget things? Do you know how often I fake remember things? I'm being dead serious. It's a problem. Like, I will literally fake remember things that I supposedly did, and come to find out I didn't do that thing. It's bad. So, but again, here's the problem. Not only that, but you also have the people around Muhammad saying, haven't we heard these stories before?
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the Quran.
It says heard these stories before. They didn't say that they read these stories before. And I'm not saying that the manuscripts weren't around, right? They weren't circulating where Muhammad was at, but largely it was just oral tradition. They didn't have a whole lot. It was very expensive to reproduce these things. So when Muhammad's retelling the story, he substitutes the word horns for a different word for horns. Maybe he substitutes the word iron for of brass for a different word like bronze, or it's interchangeable, these things, but it has the same core meaning, and it's the same freaking story.
Yep. I just posted a link to both the Wiki Islam article on Dulcarnain, which goes through a lot of the parallels, and a link to the book by Tessis, who is a scholar who works out of Duke University from the Wuhan campus in China. Pretty based dude. He is still alive. This is a modern book. Came out in 23. So like 3 years ago, this book came out, and it is the definitive source on the Alexander romance, but also just specifically the legend of Alexander, the Syriac legend of Alexander. So pretty based book. Recommend it if you want to buy it and support him. Go for it. But includes the entire English text, which is really not much, and goes through all of his dating methods, textual methods, debates that happen within it. Yeah. But most modern scholars, because of this work, believe that it was dated to around the early 500s to mid 500s. So,
mashallah.
Yeah, no, it Surah 18 copies from a bunch of things. I didn't even mention Al-Qadar. Yeah, it copies Seven Sleepers, copies a lot of stuff. You can also say it like Jacob Sarug's version of, or like pseudo Jacob Sarug's version of the Alexander romance is actually closer because it includes Gog and Magog. So he could be taken from just all of the Syriac tradition for Surah 18. So he's just copying the Christians there.
I don't know. Probably because he disagreed with what Jacob of Sarug had to say.
Right. I mean, if you read Surah 27, he deliberately changes every detail about Solomon that's not Islamic. If something's not Islamic, he steals from the source and then just twists it a bit to make it more Islamic. He does that all the time.
I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, even the rabbis do the same thing. Oh, David slept with Bathsheba. No, I mean, he did, but it wasn't sin. I mean, it was fine. He actually killed Uriah for a very, righteous reason, which again is just ridiculous. But
it's evil, dude.
I know, but
evil. Yeah.
But to say dude literally takes his wife and kills him. But anyways, and again, oh yeah, very based. I was gonna ask you to pull that up earlier, but
thank you.
But we can't just be we can't just be saying that, well, because Muhammad is quote unquote consciously editing what he's talking about, that doesn't mean that he didn't steal from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that I think that Muhammad genuinely didn't know anything about Alexander the Great, and so he just kind of rolled with what he had. I think he knew that he was a really, big figure. But again, as I would like to state earlier, Allah made all that happen. So
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I'm dragging.
you mean like Luffy's dad, or
No, like I'm in my body and soul. But yeah, no, it's really like it should be. It should be difficult to refute that the story in the Quran was straight up jacked from the original source. But the problem is, like in that conversation we had last night with a Muslim brother, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's stolen because Allah gave that revelation to somebody before. Doesn't make it not a revelation, right? That's what basically what we were led to believe by the Muslim that we spoke with last night.
One thing to note about that story in the Quran versus the original source. The Quran, all the times whenever it's stealing things, is almost always a paraphrase of the original. It's never the only direct quotation the Quran ever does of any source at all, ever, is Surah 5:32. And that's quoting the Mishnah, and it actually calls it the word of Allah. So the oral tradition of the Jews, which was made up by humans, Allah calls the word of God, or at least a decree unto the Jews. Other than that, everything else is a paraphrase. So like, oh, why doesn't it line up 1-to-1? Nothing does. Literally nothing. There's not a single thing in the Quran that actually lines up 1-to-1 to any source that comes before it. There's lots of things that come extremely close, but are still largely just paraphrases. Because he's not trying to quote it. He's just trying to be similar enough in the theology that it is a proof of his prophethood. And of course, he's still quoting false man-made beliefs, like like the giant iron wall that doesn't exist. Like, why is that in the Quran? Why is this? It's obviously stolen, but why is it in the Quran? Even if it wasn't stolen, why would it be in the Quran? Because it's a false thing that doesn't actually exist. So even discounting it being stolen, which it obviously was, why is that in the Quran since it's obviously false?
Dude. It's the same thing with everything from the Talmud. It's the same thing. It's copying from sources that are not divine, and then it's claiming it's a divine source, but it just straight up just copies. I genuinely like. The normal Muslim guy has, dude, you left. Normal Muslim guy, you left for the whole argument. You missed the entire reading Chris did, proving that the story of Alexander was stolen, and now you're coming in here claiming, oh, this is a disingenuous argument. Oh, because you didn't listen to the argument. Bro, do you see why Christians don't like debating with you guys? Because it's not because you're smarter. It's not because you actually know what you're talking about. It is literally because you don't listen to the argument and then you think you won. You don't actually listen. You hear words, but you're not listening. You're not processing. You're not actually taking in the evidence. You just say, oh, it goes against the Quran. Can't be true. Dude, listen to the actual argument.
Mm-hmm.
Like, goodness gracious. And so is Faisy. Faisy's the exact same way. They don't listen to the arguments. I know it's a joke, but the whole, like, this is your brain on Islam, and it's like a scrambled egg. This is what it looks like, is that you can't actually look at evidence because, oh, well, my book that came later proves it's a correction of the earlier thing. That doesn't work that way. Oh, dude. So bad. So bad.
So Faisy, If the Quran contains false information and it says it's from God, does that mean that we should trust the false information? Or that it's from God? If it has verifiably false information within it, does that mean it's still from God? Is God relaying false information to the believers? Yes or no? Because it happens a lot. There's dozens of instances of it happening. That Allah gives false information to the people, including false prophecy. Muhammad gave a false prophecy in Surah 8. He had a dream that was false because Allah wanted him to have a false dream, had a false prophecy. But anyway.
Well, if you go by Muslim logic, the verse, I think it's 1094 in Surah 1094, where Allah asks if Muhammad is, if he says, sorry, Allah doesn't ask, Allah tells him, if you're ever in doubt, go to the previous scriptures. Well, they would say, well, Allah gave that to Muhammad knowing he would never doubt. So why did he even say it?
Okay. So Faizi, this is not a good argument. Okay. Every argument that we are using against you could also be used by atheists. So you need your argument to be true whether or not Christianity is true. Both Christianity and Islam can be false. You can't do whataboutisms to get past the problems within your own beliefs. You have to know whether or not Islam is true or false, and then you can judge whether or not Christianity is true or false. But you have to get to the point where you know whether or not Islam is true or false. If the Quran contains dozens of false, verifiable information, pieces of information, is Allah deliberately lying to you, or is it not from Allah? These whataboutisms where you're just like, oh, well, Christianity is false too. That doesn't make any sense. So you're just admitting that Islam is false and you're just going to keep in it? That's what you're doing. You're not actually giving a defense of Islam by doing that. You're just saying, you're just basically conceding the argument and be like, oh, well, you're false too. Cool. We both could be wrong. Atheism could be true. It's not. But atheism could be true, hypothetically. You have to defend your own faith. You can't just throw stones at other people and pretend that's defense of your own. That's not how logic works. That's not how evidence works. That's not how rationality works. We have to know why we believe things and have reason for it.
I love how like the default position in Christianity is defense of Christianity, but it seems like the default position within Islam is polemics against the other religions. Yeah. They don't do apologetics. It's right. All polemics, and then they don't learn how to defend anything of theirs. And then when they get confronted with what's actually wrong within theirs, they don't have an answer. It's who wrote this? What are you reading? I think Normal Muslim Guy might have gone back and is commenting live while rewatching.
I guess so, maybe. I was reading the Syriac Alexander legend. It was written around 500 to 550 AD, and we don't know the exact author because it comes from multiple oral traditions and was written down in Syriac around the same time that the Greek and Syriac Alexander romances were written down, which we do have some authors of, such as Jacob of Sarug, named. But Jacob of Sarug did not write that version of the Alexander legend. If he ever watches this and gets to this point.
Please stop bringing up the Bible. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, so again,
I would love to talk about the Bible, but I have
no rationality. So actually, I explained this to him on Monday. He's using the same argument he used on Monday that I explained to him, because I explained the original. I explained the only unforgivable. Like I explained the unforgivable sin and the difference between Hebrews 10:21 and Hebrews 10:26. I already explained this to him, and he said, "If you explain this to me, I will become a Christian." He obviously was lying,
right?
But yeah, I'm not gonna. Anyway. So, do you want to go through the Testament of Solomon?
I'd be more than happy to.
Go for it. Was it clear at all? Okay.
I would like to argue that Hebrews 6 chapters 6 and 10 both unequivocally teach eternal security, and that verse does not say what you think it says. Eternal security being the doctrine that once a person is saved, that person cannot be lost. But I will I will not talk about that because that's not what we're talking about right now.
You can go back and rewatch that stream, Phasing. I gave a very clear defense of eternal. I alluded to eternal security, but I went through how once you know Christ fully and you leave, you apostate, or you fall away from him, or you know that he is God and you fully intellectually reject him and emotionally reject him and all those things, there is no salvation for you available.
Yeah, here's my problem. I would like for you to prove to me. Let me just pull the verse up, and this will be the last thing that I have to say on it.
Okay,
I would like
the Testament of Solomon after that.
Yeah, I got the Testament of Solomon pulled up. I would like for you to prove to me that Hebrews 10:26 terminates at some point in your life. I need you to prove that to me, because I could also argue that there remains no more sacrifice for sins of a lifetime of willful rejection, and it terminates with your death. You receive the knowledge and willfully reject it your whole life, and after your life is entirely spent, there remains no more sacrifice for sins. So that's a valid position. Anyways, here we go. Solomon in the Quran. Bada bing, bada boom. Start from beginning. Oh man. I love you, Fazy. We love you. We want you to come to a saving knowledge of the Lord Jesus. We're having a very hard time understanding how a rational human being can come to such asinine conclusions. All right. Solomon in the Quran. This is you may ask how I got this picture.
He was there.
Classified. Charlie Kirk actually time traveled for me and took that one himself. What are we going to look at? Well, we're going to look at Solomon and the jinn. I have demons in parentheses there. Some of them are demons, some of them aren't, But anyways, we're going to be looking at several different passages in the Quran, including surahs 2, 21, 34, and 38. Solomon's rule over the wind in surah 21 and surah 34, and then Targum Shinai in surah 27. All right. So the name Solomon is mentioned. I think I can use. Yep, I can. So the name Solomon is mentioned in the Quran 16 times. He's mentioned in 7 different chapters, and his name was mentioned without a story that we're not going to look into in surahs 4, 6, and 38. What is the Talmud? Just a real quick run over, even though everyone here should be very, very familiar with what the Talmud is. It is a collection of Jewish writings containing 2 parts: the Mishnah, being the oral Torah, which was supposedly received from Moses on Mount Sinai, which we know is BS, and the Gemara, which is rabbinic debate about what the Mishnah means. It is interpretation. Now, when referring to the Talmud, most people are referring to the Babylonian Talmud, which is the second of the Talmuds and probably the most extensive, I would say, of the 2.
Yeah.
It's
over
you're
twice
also
length. Yeah.
You are also most people are more specifically referring to the Gemara within it, because let's be honest, who has read the Mishnah? Anyways, the Gemara contains all sorts of information and rhetoric, but we will be focusing more on the legendary stories within it. What is the Testament of Solomon? Again, picture courtesy of Charlie Kirk. The Testament of Solomon is a pseudepigraphal work of Christian origin, heavily influenced by Jewish legends, that details a mythical account of Solomon receiving power from Lord Sabaoth, which is actually a pretty base name, and confronting demons. Solomon then forces them to give up information and work for him, building the temple. It's actually a pretty. It was a fun read. I can't lie. I enjoyed reading the Testament of Solomon. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. So Chris, would you mind maybe removing the chat from the screen so that way we can all
Yeah, I can.
follow along? I apologize.
That's fine.
All right, so let's read Surah 2 and verse 102, part of it at least. It says, "It was not Solomon who disbelieved, but the devils who disbelieved, teaching people magic and that which was revealed to the two angels at Babylon, Harut and Marut." Dude, immediately the black dog barks at the angels of Islam.
Dude, it's great.
But they, i.e. the two angels, do not teach anyone unless they say we are a trial, so do not disbelieve, which is insane. And yet they, i.e. the children of Israel, learn from them that by which they cause separation between a man and his wife. Very important. Please remember that which they cause separation between a man and his wife. But they, i.e. the children of Israel, certainly knew that whoever purchased it, i.e. the magic, would not have in the hereafter any share, and wretched is that for which they sold themselves, if they only knew. All right. Now, we have here. So we have it all very nice and color-coded, courtesy of yours truly. We're going to go through the first part, which is teaching people magic. Where exactly could old Muhammad have gotten this concept? Well, I would like to argue that the Testament of Solomon is absolutely rife with examples of demons teaching magic and incantations. So essentially, he confronts a bunch of demons. I think there's like 60 named ones.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah. There's a bunch of named ones, and there's a bunch of unnamed ones that he also has, dealings with. And he has each demon tell the name of the angel that binds them. Some demons give instructions, others confess, or one confessed to being magically convoked. So this particular demon confessed to teaching magic. I will note that the demons are forced to reveal their secrets and do not teach them willingly to Solomon. However, Beelzebul does confess to sending demons to people to lead them astray. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Two angels at Babylon. This is very interesting as well. Testament was particularly influenced by Zoroastrianism as seen by its detailed demonology and inclusion of the demon Asmodeus, or Ashmedai in Hebrew, which most believe is a transliteration of the Zoroastrian demon Ashmedeva. Zoroastrianism was the religion of Babylon and later Persia, and scholars believe that it highly influenced Jewish thought and folklore. I mean, this isn't just a scholarly, like, this is just what happened, right? The Zoroastrianism definitely influenced Jewish thought and folklore. The names Harut and Marut, and I don't say that this is a scholarly position. I say that this is what it is because I am so very thoroughly convinced that Harut and Marut are transliterations of two Zoroastrian deities, Haruvatat and Ameratat, but how they are described in the Quran is nothing like how they are in Zoroastrianism. I feel like, again, we see this over and over and over again in the Quran, right? That Muhammad gets, here's a story, and here's maybe a couple stories, and he takes them and he boils them like some taters, and he mashes them up. He throws the butter in there. He puts a little bit of water in there, mixing it up a little bit, put the salt and the pepper and mixing it up a little bit, and voila, you have the Quran. So he doesn't really know what he's talking about. He's just heard some things from here, and he's heard some things from over here, and he just keeps putting these things in the Quran. He sprinkles it in like a little, you know what I'm saying? He's sprinkling it in, right? Like that. Exactly. Now, but they, i.e. the two angels, do not teach anyone unless they say we are a trial, so do not disbelieve. In the Quran, we see that Harut and Marut are sent down by Allah to test the people. Very important. In the Testament, we see that demons are sent by the devil in order to convince them to disbelieve. Beelzebul, which is Satan, is quoted as saying, "And my own demons I set on two men in order that the latter may believe in them and be lost." So here we have the very source that Muhammad is drawing from, say unequivocally that the demons are sent by Satan, which Muhammad attributes to Allah. Mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Satan is confirmed to be Allah. Once again, we can see clearly. So we can see clearly that Muhammad correctly but accidentally conflates Allah with a mythological Satan figure. This is very important. I told you guys to remember. They cause separation between a man and his wife. The Testament of Solomon references two demons in particular that say, I separate wife from husband, respectively, and I rend the husband from the share of his bed. It also talks lengthily about the head demon Asmodeus, who enjoys to plot against the newly wedded and to sever them utterly by many calamities. Interesting how the head demon Asmodeus, a demon from Babylon, enjoys causing division between a man and his wife. That sounded all like what we just read in the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should. Whoever purchased it, i.e. magic, would not have in the hereafter any share. This is absolutely rabbinic, right? We know that the rabbis definitely believed that those who practiced magic would be lost, and I believe I bring that up a little bit later. But the Talmud, it's right here. The Talmud explicitly says that those who whisper invocations, i.e. magic, by doing so, he shows contempt for the sanctity of the name of God, and therefore has no share in the world to come. Almost identical lingo. I believe, I don't know where that quote is from, and I didn't put it in there. I believe that I could find that quote, though, if asked. Yeah, but the Testament also, echoes the same idea. All right. Here we have Solomon and the jinn once again. Start 21, verse 82. And of the devils, i.e. jinn, were those who dived for him and did work other than that, and we were of them a guardian. Why do you keep saying your God can die? Dude, I'm getting tired of this. Those who dived for him.
Oh man, you missed Fazy's wonderful argument about Jesus' genealogy. Anyway.
Oh no, I saw it and my eyes glossed over. I was like, oh, that's so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard there was an adoptionist who came to IP and Than's stream one time, and he was saying that Matthew, Mark, and Luke should not have said that Jesus was born. They shouldn't have used the word born. They should have said that the second person of the Trinity incarnated, like word for word. He argued that, and I was like, dude, you're such a. I mean, he was a smart guy. I was like,
really stupid.
You're such a smart guy, because he said, well, born implies beginning. And we're like, well, of course, right? Like he
popped out the body. That's the beginning of being a human.
A human nature. Yeah, he took on a human nature, right? Which he. Yeah. I mean, so I don't know, like.
Also, the word born just means a fetus comes out of the vagina alive. It's a technical term.
So I don't know. But anyways, regardless, I thought that was really funny. Interesting enough, this Testament of Solomon talks about several sea demons, but one in particular from the Red Sea that dives. Beelzebul, talking about his child, i.e. a demon, says, and on any suitable occasion, he comes up to me again from the Red Sea, being subject to me, and reveals what he has done. And reveals to me what he has done, and I support him. It says in another place, the demon called Ephipas hath brought it up from the Red Sea, speaking of a pillar that Solomon would use in the construction of the temple. So, Chris, what is it called whenever you go down into and up out of the water?
Baptism?
No. Diving. Sorry, I mean like you go down. You go for the purpose of
I was finding something for Fazy.
Yeah, all good. No. Well, I mean that is baptism as well. Yes, the demons were baptized. You heard it here, Chris. Anyways, did work other than that. Now this is the understatement of the year, right? The Talmud and Testament are both filled with examples of demons doing work for Solomon. the Talmud in particular is pretty interesting. It describes some things, but the Testament is prolific. I mean, it describes exactly what they did, what their jobs were, how Solomon kept them in line. It says, why was it necessary for Solomon to have male demons and female demons? The Gemara answers, it is written with regard to the building of the temple. And it says, I, Solomon, sealed the demon and set him to work at stone cutting. Just one example of the task that Solomon set the demons to in building the temple. It says, we were of them a guardian. The Testament records, now when I, Solomon, heard this, I entered the temple of God and prayed with all my soul, night and day, that the demon might be delivered into my hands and that I might gain authority over him. And it came about through my prayer that grace was given to me from the Lord Sabaoth by Michael his archangel. He brought me a little ring having a seal consisting of an engraved stone and said to me, take, O Solomon, king, son of David, the gift which the Lord God has sent thee, the highest Sabaoth. With it thou shalt lock up all demons of earth, male and female, and with their help thou shalt build up Jerusalem. So, and this is also all over the Islamic sources. I could bring you, well, we get to that, but I could bring you so many scholars who interpret this. I mean, they just steal from the Testament. It says in Surah 34, verses 12 and 13, and among the jinn were those who worked for him by the permission of his Lord, and whoever deviated among them from our command, we will make him taste of the punishment of the blaze. Remember how we said that Solomon was given a magical ring? Well, Muslim scholars agree. Al-Tabari records that Solomon was given a signet ring that he used to rule his domain. In fact, the ring was so important that Solomon lost his kingdom when a jinn stole the ring, and then God gave it back to him when he found the ring again. That's also in the Jewish sources. I don't know if I put that in here, though. I find it funny that many modern scholars dismiss a lot of these stories that earlier Muslim commentators included as folklore when half the Quran is folklore. We will taste of the punishment of the blaze. I just thought that was funny because jinn are made of fire. So, like, what is this going to do?
Nothing.
Also, Chris, now now occasionalism makes sense. If fire is just an occasion for God to produce heat, then the fire that he made the jinn out of could just be invisible and doesn't produce heat because he's not occasioned to want it to do that. So it just doesn't. So it's just invisible, tasteless, senseless fire.
Right. That can sometimes manifest and have intercourse with women and men.
It's just a different occasion.
Right.
Anyways, here we go.
Dude, occasionalism is just so...
It's bad.
It's real bad.
But it is...
Islamic like metaphysics is probably the worst out of any, other than like Hinduism.
I was going to say Hinduism is not good either.
Hinduism is really strange, man.
Taoism,
like the golden egg
bad.
stuff with Brahman is just so weird. But
I would say Eastern religion is just kind of
strange,
incompatible with
rationality.
Logic. Yeah. Okay, Surah 38, verse 34 and 45. And indeed, we tested Solomon. Did I say through 45? I think I meant through 35. I don't remember. And indeed, we tested Solomon, placing a body on his throne. Then he turned, he prayed, my Lord, forgive me and grant me an authority that will never be matched by anyone after me. You are indeed the giver. What does placing a body on his throne mean? Well, Al-Tabari records that one time Solomon went to use the bathroom and gave his signet ring to a concubine to hold for him. While he did his business, while he was doing so, a demon convinced the concubine to give him the ring. And when she did, Solomon's throne was taken from him. Solomon then went on for a time as commoner, and during this time his wives, concubines, and counselors began to realize that it is not Solomon who's on the throne. Solomon then found the ring again in the belly of a fish, and God restored to him his kingdom. I'm sure Chris is going to find this familiar because that is literally exactly what Gittin 68 A through B says. Yeah. The story, it is nearly identical. In the Talmud, The demon king Ashmedai convinces Solomon to give him his ring. Then Solomon is flung 1,600 miles from his palace, and he becomes a beggar. During Solomon's time off the throne, his wives, concubines, and counselors begin to realize that whoever is on the throne is not Solomon. Eventually, Solomon returns to the palace, is given his ring back, and Ashmedai fled from out of his sight.
Right, because he tries to have intercourse with Bathsheba.
Yes,
his mom.
and Bathsheba's like, I don't know about this, and then I think she sees his hair.
He has hairy feet, I think.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And I have it in front of me. But
Yeah, hey, I love that. Faisy, so you said Muhammad was known as Al-Amin long before his prophethood? Fantastic. Did you know that that the Jews claimed that Jesus was making himself Yahweh? Did you know that that's what the Jews said about Jesus? They said, you being a man, make yourself God. This is one of the other problems that I have with one of the things that they say, oh, well, why didn't Jesus say that he was God whenever the Jews asked him, why do you make yourself God? Why does he say, well, haven't you read in the in your book where it says that you are gods? I think what he's trying to tell them is that they are clearly distinguishing him from them in a divine sense. He's trying to say, hey, think about what you're saying. You're calling me Yahweh. Anyways, let's continue.
And he embraces it and doubles down later
Exactly.
on. Exactly.
Absolutely, right? He doesn't.
They try to kill him.
What he's trying to say is
says, "I'm Yahweh." They go like, ah. Yeah.
He's trying to tell them, look, you guys are saying this about me.
Oh my god.
And I am saying this. Jesus' real name was
Isa. No, dude, it was
Yeshua, first of all. But
not
transliteration, I don't mind.
It's not the same word as Yeshua.
You're more than welcome to call Jesus Isa, right? You can be saved.
No, you should call him Yasu. In Arabic, his name is Yasu. It's not Isa.
Well, right, I understand. But what I'm saying is, so long as you have the correct concept of who you're talking about, right? You have to know who you're talking about. Now, his name is Jesus, and you should call him that, or whatever it is in your language. But if you have the correct concept of Jesus, I don't really have any problem with you calling him Isa, right? Jesus sounds absolutely nothing like Yeshua. So, but it's just that's just what it is in English.
Isa is definitely from Isa.
Yes, we do say Mary and you say Miriam. That's much closer to what it was in Hebrew. But again, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? Anyways, what do the tafsirs say? We just looked at Al-Tabari. Now let's look at Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir states that there was a demon in the sea who could help Solomon build the temple without using tools. Solomon then went to a spring in the sea from which the demon would drink, drained it of water, let that sink in real quick, and filled it with wine. The demon then came, saw that there was wine in it instead of water, and after refusing to drink it due to wine making a person foolish, he drinks it because he's very thirsty. When he had become drunk, Solomon sealed him with his ring. What a terrible purple color I used.
Yeah, I know.
Anyways. Man. Anyways, what does the Talmud say? Gittin 68a states that there was a demon on a mountain who could help Solomon build the temple without using tools. Solomon's servant then went to a spring on the mountain from which the demon would drink, drained it of water, filled it with wine. The demon then came and saw that there was wine in it instead of water, and after refusing to drink it due to wine making a person foolish, he drinks it because he's very thirsty. When he had become drunk, Solomon's servant sealed him with a chain. Again, you are more than welcome to point and say, hey, he says a chain in this one and he says a ring in our version. So clearly these are different things. You would be laughed out of like literally anywhere for saying something ridiculous like that. They're the same story. Your scholar is copying from a rabbi.
Right. Multiple rabbis.
This is the same thing. Here's the thing. What if I wrote a book and I called it the Quran? Oh, and instead of Muhammad, his name was Mu'man, and instead of Isa, his name was Jesus. I mean Isa. I mean, anyways. And what if I changed every what if I changed every third word to like a synonym? That's what he's doing.
Hey, I apologize. I do have to hop off.
Not a problem, Andrew.
I just got a message. I gotta hop off.
That's fine.
All right. Love you
See you,
guys.
buddy.
Bye.
Love
Good
you
night,
too,
brother.
man. Peace. The Quran shares stories with earlier tradition, but it corrects them where it differs. This is
Okay,
plagiarism.
but again,
Why can your Quran literally copy paste what the rabbis say, but it can't for the life of it get anything right from what the Bible?
right? It also, it's copying stories that we know to be false.
Yeah,
that don't appear in history until some rabbis make it up in the Gemara and other sources. These are false tales. It's not even like it's copying the Bible. These are false tales that never happened that it's stealing from.
Right. And I'm not completely convinced that they believed this story.
The Jews? Yeah, no.
Because, well, to their
Some of
credit,
them did.
I think there is, since it talks about Solomon a lot, especially with the demonology stuff.
With the
So I
ring,
think-
yeah.
So there's a part of me that's like, I feel like they wouldn't have been this prolific if they didn't at least think some of it was real. But
Yeah.
then the other part of me is like, also it's mostly Agedic, so it's not
Mhm.
always
And-
meant to be taken literally.
Much of the Agedic material is just straight up used as object lessons because some
Mhm.
rabbis make it a point. And if you keep reading past the Agedic portion, the rabbi then says, "Oh, and because of this, we know why."
Parables.
They're parables to teach object lessons.
Really
And then
bad.
your Quran
parables.
steals parables used to teach object lessons, treats it as a literal occurrence, and then says it happened and that God gave it.
Mashallah.
It can't be. Anyway,
What else? What do the tafsirs say? This story is
These are good.
also straight out of Gittin 68.
yeah.
Ibn Kathir states that the same demon told Solomon to put a hoopoe egg under a bottle of glass. The hoopoe then came and, because it wanted its egg back, used a diamond to cut the glass. Solomon used the diamond to cut the rocks for the temple. I will see you tomorrow. We're not streaming
Phasing.
tomorrow. Are you streaming tomorrow?
I'm not streaming tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well,
I will be streaming on Friday on an ex-Muslim giving their life to Christ.
yes. Amen. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so pay attention to the highlighted portions. What does the Talmud say? Gittin 68b states that the same demon told Solomon to put a hoopoe egg under some glass.
The hoopoe, dude, I love it.
The hoopoe then came and, because it wanted its egg back, used the shamir to cut the
Worm.
glass. So a little bit different, but
Mm.
same idea. And Solomon
Well-
used the shamir to cut the rocks for the temple. And the shamir is generally interpreted to be a worm.
Right. Which is the worm of, I don't remember what surah it is, where it says that Solomon is resting on his staff and a worm eats it and then he falls over. Then the jinn realize he's dead and they can stop working. That worm is likely the same worm. It's the shamir.
Right.
So
Now that's not in the Talmud. I don't think the story of him
dying on
sleeping,
his staff.
yeah, is in the Talmud.
Yeah.
Um,
It does mention he owns a staff, and the staff is part of his mythos, but him dying on a staff and then him falling over is not. The jinn realizing that they could stop their work when he dies, I think is, but that exact explicit scene is either original to Muhammad or was part of some oral culture that was not written down.
A hoopoe is a very cool.
It's
River
I'll bring up a
bird.
picture. I have a picture of it. Hold on.
I like hoopos a lot. They're very pretty.
Yeah, I keep a picture of it on me at all times.
keep that thing on me.
Keep that eye on my guy. Yeah, hold on. I think it's my temp files.
And Upu.
Ooh. Where did I save that thing? Anyway, you can keep going.
So moving from the Jinn to the winds. It says in Surah 21 verse 81, and to Solomon we subjected the raging winds blowing by his command to the land we had showered with blessings. It is
there it
he,
is.
it is we who know everything.
That's the bird.
Yeah. Super
Look
cool
at this bird, dude. This is the coolest bird you've ever seen.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Like, what birds are cooler looking than that bird? That's a cool looking bird. It's a tiny bird. It's cool looking though.
I'm honestly very partial to a male cardinal. It's
The cardinal is a nice looking bird.
It's my, it's home. It's my bird.
It's true. I grew up with cardinals in my backyard.
I also like a blue jay, but I can admit that blue jays are not as cool looking as a hoopoe.
It's true. It's true.
Honestly,
says
yeah,
even
a shoebill is pretty cool, but it's also
oh
ugly.
yeah, little dinosaur thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty just ugly.
They're pretty ugly.
I could this is an act this is a real bird. Do not cancel me. The blue-footed booby is
boobies, yeah.
Yes, the boobies are pretty interesting birds as well. I like them.
I can't do all the bird boob jokes. There's so many of them.
I know. I'm trying to think of I think just purely because I'm an American, I have to say that the bald eagle is undoubtedly the best bird created.
Great horned owls are pretty base too. I actually have a great horned owl feather I got from a great horned owl that I captured.
Accidentally?
Yeah. So
this is
my great horned owl feather that I got in the Appalachian Mountains. Pretty based.
Very based.
I also have another feather that I'm not supposed to have, so I'm not going to show that on stream. Anyway,
I have a feeling I know what it is, but anyways,
yeah, I'll show you afterward.
My uncle and I were on a smallmouth fishing trip, going down a really, really neat river, and we came across a bend that led into a very nice open area. It had like the trees were like, probably 10 feet away from the shore. So it was nice and open, and the sun was just, it was a nice, pretty blue day. And here comes a bald eagle across the river in front of us. And I was like, so what's next after that? Like, where do we go from here? Like, I don't know. I don't know where we go from that experience. Like, it was, where do we go?
If you throw fish in the if you throw fish in the air, bald eagles will catch it out of the air.
I didn't want to throw my fish, unfortunately. I didn't want to keep them either. But
pretty based. Yeah. You'll also do it to ducklings if you throw ducklings up.
Yes, Ben Franklin did propose having the turkey be the national bird of the United States, and honestly, also a very based bird. But unfortunately, the United States favored the bald eagle because of symbolism over
intelligence,
over like national importance. Because I feel like the turkey is more nationally important than the bald eagle.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't be able to eat the bird, and people like their
turkey. Well, right. Well, I feel like it wouldn't have been as protected.
No, I think it would have been. I think we wouldn't eat turkey.
That would be so unfortunate because giant turkey legs are one of life's delicacies. Anyways, so the winds was subjected to Solomon. Now, if you read another place in the Quran, right here, Surah 34 verse 12, and to Solomon we subjected the wind. Its morning stride was a month's journey, and so was its evening stride. If you read, I believe it's Taymiyyah, he said that Solomon rode on a carpet. Solomon straight up Aladdined it.
Yeah. That's my goat. All
right. He circle. Oh yeah. Anyways, he literally had
circled the Kaaba.
a big old. I'm sure they would say that he did that too. It's a big old carpet. Other interpreters would say that it is a wooden platform that essentially has a city built in it. I'm being dead serious. They say it's a big wooden structure that's very flat, but on the edges it has buildings in which he houses all of his like cronies and stables for horses and camels and stuff. It's pretty interesting. So that's how he like moves his army around, because in the Quran, or not in the Quran, in Islamic literature, you have to understand that Solomon fought a bunch.
Yeah,
he fought all the time.
General. Yeah.
And so which is stark difference, right, from what the Bible has to say.
Anti-biblical. Yes,
right.
Anti-biblical.
All right. So, what do we mean by the raging winds? Well, the Testament records that one spirit came before me who carried his face high up in the air, but the rest of the spirit was curled away like a snail, and it broke through the few soldiers and raised also a terrible dust on the ground, and it carried it upwards. And then again hurled it back to frighten us, and asked what questions I could ask as a rule. And I stood up and spat on the ground in that spot and sealed with the ring of God, and forthwith the dust stopped. So in the spit. Anyways, it also records a story of Solomon sending a servant out with a signet ring to calm a raging windstorm in Arabia. It's pretty interesting. So the king of Arabia sends a delegation over. He's like, hey man, I need you to take care of this sandstorm. And Solomon's like, I think there's a demon there. And so he sends his buddy with his ring and a bottle. And he tells his buddy, when the windstorm starts blowing, you catch the wind in the skin and you seal it with the ring. And once the ring is on it, you know that it's been sealed. You bring it back to me and you can let him out. And well, yeah. Anyways, we already read that. Yes. Oh, I have it here. It's Al-Talabi identifies this as being a reference to Solomon's flying carpet. While this is the first written record of Solomon's carpet, it is not original to him. Scholars agree that the idea of Solomon's carpet had been in Jewish oral tradition for a long time before he came around. I also just think that this is absolutely ridiculous. If you just read the tafsirs, you will also find that some thought it was like a big floating wood platform that demons lifted up with the help of the wind. So anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting. I'll have to read. I'd have to actually get at Talabi's. I'd have to get a quote from him. But again, it's not like Muslims trust anything that I have to say here. Anyways, they would say I was misquoting the Quran if they couldn't read it right in front of them.
I mean, they'll still say that even if you can read it.
It's true. So Solomon and the Queen of Sheba in Surah 20, in Surah 27 verses 23 to 44. This happens to be a weird perversion of the account of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba found in the Bible, in which a hoopoe delivers a letter to her telling her to become a Muslim and come to Solomon in Israel. She's then tested with a glass palace and lifts her skirt because she thinks it is water.
And she has hairy legs.
This is the very same story that is found in Targum Shinai. So this is an Aramaic translation of the book of Esther. It is essentially word for word the same. A hoopoe delivers a letter to the Queen of Sheba telling her to stop being a pagan and to come see Solomon in Israel. She is then tested with a glass palace and lifts her skirt because she thinks it is water. Because Lord forbid that the Queen of Sheba is just genuinely interested in why Solomon is so great.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid.
There's a bunch of details that are still parallel between that you didn't put there either. Which is pretty
I know.
Spectacular. Like them getting married and having kids, who's Nebuchadnezzar, I think. And then her having hairy legs, him having all his armies made up of humans and animals and spirits.
Which is also in the Quran.
It's also in the Quran. Like all of that's just, it's in the Quran or it's in the tafsir. So this actually is a bunch of Israelot for Surah 27. If you read the tafsir on that section, the stuff that's missing in the Quran, they add from Targum Shinai, which is hilarious.
Yeah, no, I thought I mentioned it here, but in the Quran, I believe it says that Solomon had his hosts before him,
Right.
and that is traditionally interpreted to be
Armies.
the demons, the men, and the animals.
hmm This
Um,
is explicitly in the Quran. Yeah.
and yes, so Targum Shinai. All right, I included a slide on Targum Shinai to give a defense for Targum Shinai being dated before the writing of the Quran. Here's why, because Muslims will say, "Oh yeah, but Targum Shinai came around the same time as the Quran. So what if the Quran influenced Targum Shinai?" Well, here's what I would like to say. Firstly, it uses late Jewish Aramaic, which was becoming outdated by the time of the Quran. It is not the linguistic of the Quran. Second, it contains features that are characteristic of late antique Palestinian Midrash, 3rd to 7th centuries. Here's the big one. It contains no Arabic loanwords.
hmm
Chris,
That's
if
important.
I feel like
Sorry.
that's the most important one. Chris, if
Yeah.
I were to go to Japan and
Nihon.
I were Nihon, and I
Nippon.
were to ask a Japanese person to explain to me Buddhism, and they explain to me Buddhism, and they use all these words and all these doctrines that they hold for Buddhism, and so I come back to the United States. I'm going to use those words, right? I can't not use those words because that's the words for it. Like
Right.
they
Like
don't exist.
samsara. Yeah.
They don't exist in English.
hmm
They are the words for it.
Karma.
And so if I were to explain it, I'd be like, hey, there's this religion called Buddhism. Bingo, right? Already a loan word. That's not an actual word in English, right? Buddhism is not an English word. Now the ism is added onto the end to denote its ideological stance.
Right.
But
Actually, Buddhism is an English word because that's not the word in Chinese or Japanese for Buddhism, but it comes from the root of the word. So it's still a loan word,
right,
but it's
it's
an Englishized loan word.
loan word of right.
Right.
What I'm saying is like this word it didn't exist.
It has influence from that language. It's not English original. Yeah.
So like the first time somebody used the word Buddhism in English, I mean, again, like it's a loan word, right? And
Right.
words in general are loan words, just by and large, because
Right.
like languages always came from other languages, but you have a set of established words for each established dictionary for each language. Especially, right? We can pinpoint that, especially in history, because vocabularies changed um, in a different way. It's much easier to pinpoint.
Exactly when that culture started using those words.
Yes, those
Yeah.
words were set for a certain period of time, and it's again much easier to find.
Right.
It
Which is how
also
linguists typically date things because
right.
every couple of generations, the lingua franca changes. It alters, it adds new slang words. Those slang words become not slang, but part of the actual language itself, and it gets updated. So even if you do it in English, you can see what period of time. Like imagine if the internet was a book. You could tell what period of time the internet was in if I gave you a random Reddit post based on the memes that it uses and what language it uses of like the meme. So if it's using like Gen Alpha brain rot speak, you know that came about during the Gen Alpha era. If it uses millennial brain rot speak, you know it came through the millennial era. If it just says everything's stupid and annoying, it comes from the Gen Xers. So you know, like, oh, language changes per generation. We can trace like what of this group, what words they use, and then you can compare the groups and you can actually create distinct dictionaries or codexes or um, corpuses is the technical term, textual corpuses per generation. And you can compare a text to each corpus and find what corpus does it correspond to the best.
Mm.
That's how we do textual dating of the actual words themselves, which is how part of the reason why we know the Gnostic writings, comes after the time of Christ, because the words that they're using are the words that were used in the 200s and 300s, not the words that was used in 30 AD. So,
Yes, Hussar, I am aware that there is no such thing as Palestine. But what I was trying to communicate is that it was not like it was in the time period in which you would know it as
groovy.
mostly post-Jewish,
Right.
not what's the Levant, right? Post-Jewish
Yeah.
Levant. This is another problem with this. It has an anti-Christian sentiment and uses Greek words and Roman names, but no awareness of Islamic concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. If I were a Jew in 7th century Arabia and following, and I heard, right? Yes, that one specifically. And I heard these stories that you know the Muslims were telling and the Quran and all that. But I also knew that these same Muslims were butchering my people. Absolutely wholesale slaughter of my people.
Mm.
Why would I include that in my sacred writings? Again, like I know that there is evidence of Islamic influence in rabbinical sources. I'm absolutely aware of that. But initially, because it's 3rd to 7th centuries. So
And 7th could still be before Muhammad.
Yeah, and it could still be from before Muhammad. So like you got this guy who's absolutely going out and just letting the choppa fly on my Jews. And here I am being like, what, Queen of Sheba? Man, that's good. Man, that's good. You know? Like what?
Sorry,
Absolutely
Talon
not.
sent me. Anyway. I know, it's so stupid.
And so there's that. Again, the no Arabic loanwords is a big one, right?
Really
if it was really written, like, because you have to understand that Arabic was a language before Muhammad as well. So, you know, if it really was in some way Arabic influenced at all, you know, there should be, right, some sort
Arabic,
of an influence. So there should be some
Yeah.
sort of an influence in there.
And it's interesting to know, if you actually look at the text themselves, the syntax of the Aramaic and the Hebrew actually change after Muhammad because the region was Arabized. So even the texts that come after Muhammad that had no Arab words, the structure of the language itself, they wrote it differently because of Islam. So we can tell immediately, just based on how it looks, whether or not it was before or after Islam took over the area. The Arab loanwords just seals the deal, but even the syntax itself matters for dating, which is why this text and the Talmud and Bereshit Rabbah are all dated before.
Right. And there are plenty of things. It's not as though it would have been like my Buddhism example with English. Yes, amen, mashallah. It's not like my Buddhism example with English, because, you know, Japanese and English are completely different languages. Let's say it was from English to German. It's not really all that much of a leap to include German words, because I'm gonna be honest with you, like half the English lexicon is German.
Right.
So
like beef.
So like Arabic is Aramaic.
Syriac a bit more, but yeah.
Right.
Very close.
Very, very close. And so whenever you have these two languages, it would have been a seamless change, right? You could have just included some Arabic words in there and there would have been no confusion about it, right? It would have been completely fine. We don't find any. There's none.
But there's hundreds in the Quran.
Oh yeah, hundreds of random Hebrew and Aramaic words and
And
Persian words
Yeah, there's a lot of Persian words.
just littered throughout the Quran for no reason.
It's so weird. Like stone. like I think it was like 13 of the times the word stone is used, it's in Persian. The rest of it's in Arabic.
Mm. Right.
Why?
For the sake of the argument, let's say the Quran, i.e. Muhammad, doesn't have any awareness of the actual works of the Talmud and the Testament. This is at the very least a clear indication that Muhammad was absolutely influenced by whatever legendary stories about Solomon were floating around in Arabia during his lifetime. Why does this matter? Islam teaches that divine revelation is only given through prophets. The time between Jesus and Muhammad is referred to by Muslims. The time between Jesus and Muhammad is referred to by Muslims as devoid of any prophetic words coming from Allah. It also calls Jews during that time misguided. And the Quran says, "Woe to those who distort the scripture with their own hands," which is essentially what the Talmud is. The Talmud and the Testament were both written between 100 and 500 AD during that very time. Now, Muslims have two options. You can either A, Muhammad and his companions were influenced by the legendary and untrue tales of the Jews and Christians, particularly in this case, the stories of Solomon recorded in the Talmud and the Testament, making the Quran not completely divine. Or B, Islam endorses the non-prophetic words of misguided Jews and Christians as divine revelation, thus contradicting its own theology of revelation. What now? I like to include this at the end of my presentations generally. Get out, share the gospel. Don't just avoid evangelism because you don't know enough yet. Heart full of love does much more than a head full of knowledge. I'm not saying be an idiot, be prepared. But love is something that Islam cannot comprehend, and we have it in spades. Keep studying. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know, and remember that souls are at stake. So that's the end of the old Prezi. I did. You're right. My fault.
The only valid use of
yeah
for Jesus.
Yes. No.
But he doesn't even need it. You know?
No. It's not because peace be upon him. It says because peace be upon him is sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that sallallahu means the peace of Allah be on him. We do not want Allah's peace on Jesus.
Nope. Oh, Allah wants that. He's shaitan. He's Iblis.
Allah put a bunch of pieces all over Muhammad anyways. What?
That's the zup.
Allah is not just the generic Arabic word for God, unfortunately. That is Illah.
Yeah, it's Ilah.
So that's
all
why
Ilah is Allah.
In
it's the God.
In Shahada, you say washhadu la ilaha illallah.
Mm-hmm.
So la ilaha. So God is no God. Allah. Right. Yeah. There is no God except Allah.
Allah. Yeah. La is no.
Mm-hmm.
Ilah is God. Ha makes it of. There is no of God except Allah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so don't let Muslims fool you like that. Now, there are Christians and a lot of Arabic speakers just in general who have taken Allah to just mean God in the general sense, but at the time of Muhammad, that's not what it meant.
Right. It's pagan.
Yeah.
Yep. No, he never called God Allah in Aramaic because that's not what the word was. If the closest you get is Elohim, and it's Eloi, which is what we get inside of the scriptures in Greek. It's Eloah, Eloah, or Eloi, Eloi.
Eloi.
Shapnat. Oh,
no, Eli Sabachthani. So yeah, Eli. Yeah, Elliot. Growing up, I always
Lama
heard it Eli,
sabachthani.
Eli, Lama Sabachthani, and I was like, man, that sounds so English. And then I listened to it in, I forget where it was, but it was supposed to be more Hebrew, and it was Eli,
Eloi.
Eli, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's Eli, Eli, but it's spelled with an O.
Eloi.
So yeah.
Yeah. Eloi, lama sabachthani.
Mm-hmm. So
Sabachthani. No, whatever. Oh,
yes,
it's midnight. I'm tired.
I'm also tired.
But yeah, it's Eloi. It's from Elohim, so it's Eloi. Allaha is not it's not the same way as Allah. It's entirely different vowels, entirely different pronunciation and stress points. It's not the same word at all.
Yes.
So they are lying about that. It's about Jesus saying Allah. He did not say Allah. He probably said Yahweh a bunch of times because Greek has him saying it a bunch of times.
Nor would it have mattered if he said Allah, because it didn't mean what it came to mean in Arabic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I thought because you were going to sleep.
Words change meaning.
By the way. Is that peace?
Yeah, that's peace.
It would be
if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other one. Not in the opposite sense.
That would be peace. If you are being not combative, that would be peaceful. You're peacemaking. You're making it peaceable.
I mean, if you're trying to just count upon the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth thing, I think this is very widely misunderstood by people, including Christians. I think that it is, yeah, not just that it's justice, but it's also less of a prescription of punishment and more of a warning for people who do bad things. They're saying an eye for an eye. Look, if you're going to do something bad, expect that bad thing to be done to you. I don't know if we're willing to waste any more time. No, I mean, it wouldn't be wasted time if we talked about we can, spiritual things. I'd be more than happy to, but just maybe not tonight.
All right.
Not tonight. Words do mean things, and I think that we just, and we get into such dangerous territory whenever we just start the miracle of reinterpretation.
The miracle of reinterpretation.
But maybe we can get to your comment, your rational thought next week or something, if you're still around waiting for us. I know we won't be going live anymore this week. I think we're trying to open up an open debate live stream on Tuesdays from now on. So it'll be like Monday will be our recording day, Tuesdays are open debate day, and then Wednesdays are like our stream with Chris day. So
yeah, I might make a open debate day myself as well.
I think it's important. I also think that what we could do, because I think TikTok is a great way to get Muslims now. I know I've just had a bad taste in my mouth because God Logic, like the Muslims that you get from TikTok generally tend to be like the lower tier. Yeah. And I don't mean that as like people. I'm not saying that, Muslims are lower tier people, but they just, they bring nothing of substance. So like, it's tough that way, but it also gets you debating, gets you talking to people. So, but I think that's what Andrew and I are going to try and do. I'm going to talk to Andrew because there is a way to connect TikTok to StreamYard. We're just going to have to do some. Yes, open debate is definitely exhausting, but it's like David Wood has said to me. I feel like if you know a topic and you know it like the back of your hand, you have nothing to worry about with Muslims.
Yeah, just debate it
because because
There's a script and they follow it.
yeah, they follow a script. So like with Chris, the Talmudic dilemma. With me, I could do the rationality argument. I feel like I could also do the Testament of Solomon, though I think it's maybe a little bit less powerful than the argument from rationality. But I also feel like I'm going to run into a lot of Muslims who just cannot understand the argument from rationality. As much
I think
as
it's too high level.
as much as I want to argue it, that's what I'm saying. I think it may be a little bit too high level
Yeah.
for some. And so
I think you also need to get the quotations down to like 3 or 4. Because even though it's so painfully obvious, like if you go through a bunch of them, according to psychology, humans can only understand 4 things at a time. So if the list is greater than 4, they're not going to get everything beyond it. So even like top 5s are not ideal. So rhetoricians who write speeches for like politicians, they will do 3 or 4 points for any given subject and then move on.
Okay.
Which I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate in my own thing. But
4 verses, 4 hadith, and then 4 like tafsir interpretation.
You could do that, or you could do like 3-1-1 or 3-2-1. Like I would definitely keep it smaller so that you can get through all the sources within like 10 minutes. Because they're
I went through those, and I went through them, in a deeper sense with you guys, because I wanted to, obviously have a good comprehensive video on the argument for rationality against Islam. But I see what you're saying, especially if I'm talking to a Muslim. Yeah, and if I'm talking to a Muslim, chances are I'm going to bring up a couple Quran verses, a hadith, probably the one about the kid dying. I think that one's pretty powerful. And then probably what Kathir has to say.
Yeah, I would bring up the kid dying, the book that has all of their deeds, including if they're going to die. And before they reach their death, if they're written for life, they will start living piously. If they're written for death, they will start living sinless, like in a sinful state. Because that you cannot argue against. And then you bring up some of the Quran passages where it says that you cannot will unless Allah wills. You don't really have to make it that deep. And then like just those in combination in quick succession just kind of solidifies that belief.
Okay. Yeah. But like I said, I'm thinking maybe it's a little high level for some people. So
even then, you could maybe figure out a way to dumb it down.
I think it's a simple argument. I just think that I genuinely just don't want to understand it.
Here's what you need. You need a parable. You need some way. This is just true, generally speaking, across the board. You need to be able to relate it to something that's not religious, that they can see the logic in, then relate it to Islam. If you don't have a parable or an object lesson, they're not going to get it.
Yeah, and so I usually do like the mad scientist analogy, right? Where the mad scientist puts a chip in your brain and he controls everything you think, say, or do. And so, if he's controlling you, you can't even trust your own thoughts. Your actions aren't indicative of you. They're just indicative of what the mad scientist is telling you to do. So how could you, I like that. What's up, Sebastian? Still ain't changed that profile picture, huh, buddy? I think that's a pretty good example, but I think it's also, I could also go the other way with determinism, where I'm like, how is it just, that God determines things and still punishes someone? I think that's a very simple argument. And I think that leaves very little room. I feel like that's an understandable one too. So I might go into a little bit more depth on judgment. Oof, man, I might do that too. That's a little bit more
having stories with the judgment. Again, I think people can get it really simply. Like, hey, if I put a gun in your hand and held a gun up to your head and told you to shoot someone and you shot them, are you responsible for shooting that person?
Right.
Or even if you're like, oh, well, I literally duct taped your hand to it and then duct tape a string on your finger and then moved your arms in place and then pulled the string on your finger to make you shoot the person, would you be responsible for shooting them? And the answer would obviously be no. But then you get a life sentence in prison from that action. You're like, well, that's not fair. Like that judge didn't consider the fact that you weren't in control of the situation. Like, yeah. So how could that person be judged? How is it right for that person to be put in prison? Answer is obviously no. So is it right for that person to be put in hell?
And I think that maybe the one about people being judged according to what they're predetermined to do is maybe a little bit more powerful because we have a hadith that literally describes the prophet's answer to this very same question.
Right.
So they
He just
can't really
dodges it.
squirm out of it.
Right.
Well, I mean, he does, but you can't really, like, you have to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's logic on this.
Right.
And the funny thing is that the hadith doesn't even give you an answer to my question. It's just the guy got angry, and then Muhammad didn't touch it. Anyways.
Yeah. Talon, yeah, that is Romans.
That's Romans 9.
Yeah. And then what?
No, I was just going to say that there's a non-deterministic interpretation.
Yeah, you can go through it without being a Calvinist. Yeah.
And I would very, very highly suggest that you check out a guy named Leighton Flowers at Soteriology 101. And he has so very many good videos on Romans 9 explaining that it has absolutely nothing to do with salvation or with God determining what a person will do, their individual actions and all these things. It has to do with God electing someone to service.
Yeah, Christianity doesn't teach determinism.
No.
Calvinism is not a biblical belief. But for your other question on if Allah is the greatest of deceivers, what if any evidence against Islam is just a trick to lead people astray? You could make that case, but then there's no reason to follow Allah. So he would still be evil. And he would still be wrong.
Repeat it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Couldn't the Muslims just say that all of these plagiarized stories in the Quran are planted on purpose to make the unbelievers not believe? Like, why can't we just say Allah is the greatest deceivers? He's lying in his book, and he has obviously made the book so impossible to believe for anyone who's rational that all those people are not going to become Muslim. You can say that, but Allah is evil. He's logically incompatible with his own attributes of the 99 names.
That's what I was going to say. So I wanted to make an Islamic dilemma type it was like an Islamic dilemma type rationality argument from Allah straight up lying. So if Allah is a liar, then how are we supposed to trust what he says about eternity, about eternal life, about how to acquire it, about what it means to be a Muslim? How are we supposed to trust him about all of these things? You can't, right? So, yeah, I mean, obviously that's a thing to be worried about, right? Is being wrong and going to hell. But I think that Christianity provides such a robust foundation of evidence. Literally no other system has anywhere close to what Christianity does. And you don't have to take my word for that. Talk to any single atheist and push them on something that makes them even mildly uncomfortable. Push them on morality. Push them on rationality and determinism. Push them on what it means for something to come out of nothing. You will immediately see the meltdown. There's no foundation. Whereas if you come to Christianity, the fact that you keep coming back to these lives and these videos is fantastic because it's just so like it's robust. It's been thought out. It's been well reasoned. The Bible is the single most well-reasoned book ever written.
And archaeologically attested to.
Paul is one of the most influential philosophers, and I say that very with a heavy hand, philosopher of his time and of the world ever. I mean, he obviously was a prophet, right? So the things that he was saying was from the Lord, but his ideas and everything, all these things that the Lord revealed through Paul, set up the foundation for what became the most successful society ever known. Western culture is far and in a way above any other culture.
Yep.
I mean, you look at whenever the British landed at Japan, bit of a power imbalance there. Like I'm just being down to earth, right? The Japanese essentially had to like hijack British technology in order to even keep up.
Yeah, the samurais did not survive.
They had no idea what they were doing against gunpowder.
Right. Yeah, there's a pretty nice movie on that called The Last Samurai. I just love the scene of them getting mowed down by the Gatling gun
Yeah,
as they're doing their final charge. Yeah, and it's just like, oh, I guess it's over.
Was that the one with Keanu Reeves?
It's Tom Cruise, I think. It might have been Keanu Reeves. It's one of the older action stars. I think it was Tom Cruise, though. It looks like Tom Cruise.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's Tom Cruise. It's Tom Cruise.
All right.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had Scientology in Japan.
2003, yeah. No, they did for that movie.
Yeah, they did. But yes, I really feel like and this is
Oh, that's fun. Talon, if you want to email me, I'm happy to talk to you about any of the stuff you're struggling with off camera if you want.
Amen. We can't Scientology, bro. That's where the money at. But what I'm trying to say is that I take into account the other options: Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, atheism. You take into account all the options. I just really I don't know that there is anything close to the kind of evidence and support that we have. Because once you prove to an atheist that theism is true, there's nowhere else to go. To me, Pascal's wager is a great argument to get an atheist in the door of theism. And then from then on, I mean, it's just evidence after evidence after evidence after evidence against all these other faith systems. Atheism is the one system where they like to throw a ton of supposed scientific evidence at you. But like with a lot of the other faith systems, right, you can't get that. Islam has been debunked on science. Hinduism
doesn't believe in
has
science.
no science.
Yeah, neither of those do.
And you get to like dualism, or not dualism, Taoism, and like you just go down the line and like, man, you just don't have. I don't know. Anyways, yes, science definitely points to God more. Well, how would science point away from God? Like, what does that even mean?
God exists.
You know, I think when it comes to like, to me, if something is false, no matter what evidence you bring for it, it's not actually in reality evidence for the false thing. So like, no matter what atheism tries to bring up, it's not actually evidence for atheism, you know? So, because I mean, it's false.
Yeah. Whenever you have time, go ahead and shoot me an email. Not that many people email me, so I should still be able to see it pretty quickly. Unless my email just gets destroyed over the next couple of months for me doing larger shows. But
I think the decline of atheism is by and large due to like 4 people, being John Lennox, William Lane Craig, unfortunately
Richard Dawkins,
Ravi Zacharias, and I would probably, I don't know, as much as I mean he's not contemporary, but he is modern. C.S. Lewis, I think people are actually, my brother-in-law read The Great Divorce, or Mere Christianity, and that led him out of, and I've heard of, you know, several people, modern people, who have read Mere Christianity and, you know, been convinced. So
yeah, I mean, I think Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins actually led most people to Christ out of the movement, just because they're so.
He's just a jerk.
Well, yeah, they're insufferable, but whenever whenever Richard Dawkins were like, okay, even if the stars spelled out Richard Dawkins, I am God, believe in me, he would think it was alien tricksters trying to mess with him.
Right.
He has said that verbatim.
Or like he hallucinated Jesus coming to him and saying these things.
Right. Right.
And
so
like
no amount of evidence could convince him. And just like,
exactly.
how can you be an intellectual if no evidence can convince you? Then yeah, Einhar Serli, her coming to Christ. Like there's a bunch of the atheists themselves just being so awful that is leading people kind of like Islam. Like the Dawa guys are the worst. I mean, I don't want to like mince words. Those guys suck. And people see that and they're like, yeah, I don't want to be associated with those people. Like Sister Aisha with all of
Right.
her craziness with Mojab. She's gonna leave Islam if she
Oh, yeah.
hasn't already. Like, anyway, dude, yeah, Alex O'Connor coming to the faith would be massive. I don't know if he's quite there yet, but yeah,
It would be nice. But I also feel like, you know, as nice of a guy as he is, and as generally charitable he is to Christians, I do feel like he's got some things he has to deal with.
Yeah.
Still.
After Islam, we're gonna do Hinduism. That's my goal for next year. Hinduism. Write a book on it.
Yeah, our goal for right now, Andrew and I, we're going after Mormonism.
Yep. I'm doing all the Islam stuff, and then I'm gonna do more Hinduism. And I don't really feel like atheism is needed just because it's such a stupid belief and it's losing traction so hard.
Right.
Like it's by far the least intellectual, other than maybe Hinduism. It is just so
Other than maybe
so
Hinduism.
stupid. Dude, like naturalism is the dumbest position. It just is. It is by far the dumbest position. I will have no argument against that. That is by far the dumbest position. By universal human experience, it is the dumbest position.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not
At least Hindus aren't naturalist. I'll just say that. Doesn't make any sense. But at least they're not naturalist.
Yeah.
They phase 3, those dang slippery Judaizers.
You're next.
Esteban.
No stress.
Okay. Well,
we rambled
think
on
I'm
for a little while.
I'm hop off myself.
Yes, me too. Me as well too.
You do we're good? You
We're good. You're hiding, boy.
Yeah. Okay.
Your teacher.
Any last words or thoughts?
No, I would very much, again, I love the rationality argument so much. Look into it, use it. It's great. It's good. It's good. It's great. It's great. Anyways, that's my last plug. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Islam is a Jewish cult that was focused on the end times. The end times didn't happen. Yeah. Laletov. Apkiam. He said good night, brothers, in Hebrew.
Night to night.
Good night, Esteban. Good night, everyone else watching. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you always. Goodbye.